Ladies and gents, boys and girls, Tuesday, June the 20th, 2023. Hope you are all doing well. Chris Phillips here, your host of the Daily Crow of the Spurs Up Show. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in here on this Tuesday. I see John Edward, Brendan M., Austin Gregory. What's going on? Also, those in the Big Cock Club Discord, however, the TDC Questions channel, the TDC Questions channel, to be sure that your questions are answered there, guys. We have got a packed show here on this Tuesday. Really excited to chat with each and every single one of you. Of course, in our third hour, we have our Q&A Power Hour, guys. If you cannot call in that third hour, you can call in right now in our hotline, 843-790-3377. Leave us your thoughts. Leave us your questions. Leave us a voicemail, whatever it might be. Also, you can text that number, again, 843-790-3377, or simply leave us a question, comment, what have you in the YouTube chat. So we got that upcoming in our third hour. JC Sherbert of the Big Spur of Inside the Gamecocks. He will come up in our second hour. We got a lot to discuss ahead of a big recruiting weekend this weekend. Guys, this is going to be a weekend, and JC will fill us in a lot more on it. But this is going to be a weekend that very much so shapes the 2024 signing class for South Carolina. So a huge weekend upcoming. Really excited to get JC Sherbert's thoughts. Also, we'll talk some other things, of course, happening in Gamecock Nation with the new Gamecocks pitching coach. Again, other recruiting news as well. A lot to get into with JC. And then, of course, I've got my topics here in the first hour that we will hit on. But again, guys, hope you're having a fantastic week. If you're not watching, again, I know I said this yesterday, but if you're not watching the College World Series right now, you are missing some fantastic baseball. We got LSU, Tennessee tonight now after Tennessee wins against Stanford yesterday, and then LSU loses to Wake Forest. So the elimination game tonight, one of those two will go home, LSU or Tennessee. And what a crazy game that LSU Wake Forest game was. I definitely think the two best teams in the tournament, and then Florida, of course. But what a great game. Two great opponents, two great ball clubs as well. Again, I see Justin Langford, Will Hall, what's going on? Appreciate you. Todd Smith says he's ready for some damn football. I hear you, Todd Smith. It's a football-heavy show today, my guy. We're talking a lot of football. Guys, I'm really excited, by the way. Tomorrow, speaking of football, we are beginning, in case you missed it, we're beginning our SEC team preview series, right? Every single year, every summer, if you've been following along for a while, you know that we do an opponent preview series where I would go through and just kind of say, or go through the opponents that South Carolina plays in the upcoming season, you know, who they are, when they play, give you a breakdown of that team, just to give you sort of a refresher on the schedule, who's on South Carolina's schedule, give you some perspective on each of the opponents. Well, you know, I had the crazy idea of why not just bring on representatives. And when I say representatives, I mean like podcast hosts or what have you, people in that space, in that fan base that cover that team, those who would know the team best. Why not bring different folks from those teams on? And so we start that tomorrow with the LSU Tigers. My guy, Blake Ruffino of AYS Sports, really, really excited. We're going to be chatting with him actually later today. The conversation will air tomorrow. We'll start LSU tomorrow, Arkansas on Thursday, and then Texas on Friday. And the next week, of course, we'll get into Alabama. We'll get into Ole Miss. We'll get into who else does South Carolina not play, Oklahoma as well, and the other SEC teams. So going to be a lot of fun, guys. And again, it's never too early to start talking football, of course. Heck, we're seeing predictions and projections come out from different folks. If you will, our friend Brad Crawford dropped his summertime bowl projections this morning. He's got the Gamecocks taking on Minnesota in the ReliaQuest Bowl. He also dropped his predictions, his overall record predictions for the SEC. He's got the Gamecocks finishing 7-5, 4-4 in SEC play. Barrett Salee, friend of the show, he dropped his predictions. He's got the Gamecocks 8-4, 5-3 in SEC play. Then you got a guys, SEC Mike, you got them over there. They've got Carolina, I think, 9-3, which I'm not exactly sure if those were their actual predictions or they were predicting as a fan would predict, if that makes sense, because they made it seem like, okay, this is how we'd view everything if we were South Carolina super fans. And that's all fine and dandy, but it's like, is that your Garnet Glasses view, or are you actually locking in the Gamecocks at a 9-3 prediction? All in all, the reason I say that is because, Todd Smith, to your point, we are getting to that time of year to where predictions are starting to roll out. Of course, you guys know yours truly. I will wait until July the 5th. July the 5th and 6th is when I will drop my predictions for the 2023 football season. And also, guys, I'll drop my predictions. Maybe we'll say that Friday. So the 5th and 6th, we'll do part 1, part 2 of the game-by-game predictions for South Carolina. The 7th, which is that Friday, I will drop my full SEC predictions for the year, because I like to go through, fill out the helmet schedule, if you will, pick my SEC East and West, my SEC champion, all that good stuff. And heck, I might even give predictions for Oklahoma and Texas as well for this season, just because they'll be joining the SEC next year. So, guys, we're just a couple of weeks away from my predictions. But in the meantime, again, we continue along with our top 5 series, and we've got some other things to discuss. And that's where I want to start on the note of football. And we briefly mentioned this yesterday, right? There's always pressure. This is SEC football. If you don't like pressure, this is probably not the thing for you to be doing. And pressure, I have to emphasize this. Pressure's a good thing, right? Competitive pressure is a positive. Coaches, players, anybody will tell you, you don't want to be at a place where there's not competitive pressure to win, right? Because it means that people care. That's why SEC stadiums are packed out. That's why season tickets, right, they're sold out. That's why you have the environments and the passion in the SEC, because people care. And with that comes competitive pressure. So when I speak on pressure, guys, I'm not even necessarily always saying that, oh, there's pressure to do this or there's some sort of negative consequence. There's just pressure to succeed and pressure to meet expectations. So on that note today, we mentioned it briefly on the show yesterday. I thought this would make a great show topic. Which Gamecocks football position coaches face the most pressure in this upcoming season? Because there's some that I would label as absolutely safe. They've done a great job through their first 2 seasons in Columbia under Shane Beamer. There are others that obviously need to show something this year, or I think you're going to have fans clamoring for a change. And, you know, it's not often you see people going on record, you know, screaming from the mountaintops about a position coach, right? Like normally it's the offensive coordinator, it's the defensive coordinator. But for us as diehards, you get into the nitty gritty, right? And we're very familiar with these position coaches, and blame falls at times on the position coaches. So again, without further ado, these are my top position coaches that I think are facing a little bit of extra added pressure this upcoming season. But I'll start with the ones, guys, that I deem as almost untouchable, right? You can almost categorize these. In the untouchable category, I would put guys like Justin Stepp, the wide receivers coach. I mean, I think most Gamecock fans would sign up for him to be here for as long as he likes. Like, he's done an incredible job with the wide receiver position, developing guys. I mean, you look at what Juice Wells did last year. Heck, even guys like De'Carrion Joyner, Jalen Brooks, some of your more unknown players that have really developed and turned into nice pieces for you. Justin Stepp has done an incredible job with the wide receiver position and developing players. I think he is one of your untouchable position coaches because of the job he's done through 2 seasons. Obviously, Torian Gray on the defensive side. I mean, what he's done with the defensive backs. One of the big reasons, guys, that we believe that South Carolina's defense could be stellar yet again is because of his work in the secondary. You think about what he took over. It was abysmal. I mean, it was bleak, to say the least. After the 2020 season and the numbers you put up with guys like JC Horn, Israel Mukuamu. I mean, you had some big-time NFL studs on that defense, and you couldn't stop anybody from throwing the ball up and down the field. Here comes Torian Gray with, I don't want to call it a band of misfits, but a bunch of unknowns in the secondary. And the job he did with those guys, I mean, turning, you know, we always knew Cam Smith was an NFL type of talent, but taking a guy like a Darius Rush, for example, who, you know, went back and forth between receiver and DB, you think to yourself, okay, he can't find a position. Is he ever even going to play? Not only did he play, guys, he turned into an NFL draft pick, a top 5 round NFL draft picks. So Torian Gray, I think you could label him damn near the best secondary coach, defensive backs coach in all of college football. Then you got guys like Travian Robertson, Jody Wright, who are new on the scene that, again, Travian we love for what he did at Carolina, friend of the show. And, certainly he's got – Travian Robertson has competitive pressure. He in no way has pressure that is like job threatening because, again, this is his first season in Columbia. But there's pressure to get the run defense fixed. There's pressure to get the most out of the guys up front. But you also have to give him time to recruit, get his guys in there and develop those guys. And his track record, obviously, what he did at Tulane, what he did at Georgia State, it speaks for itself. And we've talked a ton about Travian, why we all believe he's going to be massively successful here. Again, Jody Wright, another guy at the tight end position was really good for you last year. I know Austin Stogner didn't quite meet expectations. I don't think that was really his doing, if you will. And Jody Wright, new on the scene again. So you can't judge him. And I think the tight end position is set up to be really, really successful there. But when it comes to these position coaches that face serious pressure in this upcoming season, as I just talked, the running defense, getting after the quarterback, and you start with Sterling Lucas, your defensive ends and outside linebackers coach. And let me say this, guys. For the most part, all of these guys that I'm going to mention, they're doing a fantastic job on the recruiting trail. And again, this is not a segment where I'm calling for these guys' jobs. Please don't take it that way. But I think these are position coaches that need their units to show improvement at minimum and ideally have good seasons to prove that, hey, what we're doing is working. I'm the right guy for this spot. Because you look at the pass rush, and, maybe it's a little bit unfair to lump Sterling Lucas in this because his units were hit as hard as any on this football team last year. Jordan Strawn goes down in week 1. Mo Kaba goes down in week 2. And, from there, that was 2 of your best players on defense, guys. Major blows to those 2 units. But as we know, the pass rush has fallen short. The linebacker position has been an eyesore. It feels like for recent memory. You look at last year, guys. The Gamecocks give 198 yards per game on the ground. That was 116th in all of college football. South Carolina has not been able to get after the quarterback consistently, which has hurt them. You also think about, the return of Jordan Strawn. You add Jatius Gear from the portal, right? So you've added some players. You got Desmond Umeozulu as well as a youngster. So you've got talent. And the biggest thing, and we'll talk more about this later in the summer when we talk about the defensive line and we grade these positions. We go through the position unit preview series. I think most people's gripes with the defensive front is this. There's always just so much hype, right? Shane Beamer literally last year, love Coach Beamer, but Shane Beamer last year touted the Gamecocks defensive tackles as the best position unit on the football team, guys. I don't know how that's possible that your defensive tackles can be the best position unit on the team and you give up 198 yards per game. But that's exactly what happened. So there's pressure on Travian Robertson, competitive pressure to get the D-line up to speed and get the most out of them. But there's real pressure on Sterling Lucas, in my opinion, to get that pass rush going with the edge guys, develop some of these edge guys, a guy like Terrell Dawkins, for example, like getting the most out of him, a Brian Thomas Jr. who flashed in the spring game. And then, of course, at the linebacker position. He's coaching the linebackers, right? The outside linebackers coach. And the linebackers, they're bringing quality pieces in there. Pup Howard, I think, is going to play a big role. Stone Blanton's one of your lead guys this year. Mo Kaba is back. Donovan Westmoreland, I think, can be a nice piece. Jerron Willis, you get him from Ole Miss, but we just got to see more, man, from the edge, from the linebackers, and really the defensive front as a whole. The front 7 has not been good enough for South Carolina. So Sterling Lucas, to me, does face real pressure going into this season. Next on my list, Lonnie Teasley, the offensive line coach. And this is one where, again, the situation is sort of interesting because Greg Adkins had been your offensive line coach the past 2 seasons. Last year, of course, we all recall, right? He goes out, I think it was actually the day of the SC State game. It was announced he was not on the sideline. He was battling some health issues. He came back later in the season. But I think obviously health issues, stuff like that, which obviously, again, glad that Greg Atkins is okay. But Lonnie Teasley slid in that role and did a pretty good job. I mean, the offensive line, it got better last year, right? I mean, we recall last year, I remember walking out of the stadium after the Georgia State game, and it was just, I felt dejected. I mean, I couldn't believe what I just watched from the Gamecocks offensive front. Lonnie Teasley steps in, thought the offensive line did a lot better, improved over the course of the season. But the rushing woes continued. 118.8 yards per game, 105th in the country. And guys, when you think about what you have coming back, right, you lose Jalen Nichols probably for the season. You only have 2 starters returning, 86 career starts. You lose 3 key guys in Eric Douglas, Jovan Gwynn, and Dylan Wanham. Each of those 3 players, by the way, guys, started 37 or more games in their careers. So you lose 3 very key veteran pieces up front. You've got you're kind of like in the middle right now, right? You're recruiting really well up front. I mean, you've got some big-time dudes on the offensive line on the way. The problem is they're not in Columbia yet. And the ones that are, they're not ready to play. I mean, Marquis Anderson might be an exception, but for the most part, they're not ready to play. Nick Gargiulo comes in out of the transfer portal. Sidney Fugar out of the portal. But they're going to have to be very, moving some pieces around. There are guys with experience, but not a ton of experience. And they haven't played the greatest when they've been out there. So can Lonnie Teasley, right, in a season, going into a season where you've got Spencer Rattler at quarterback, you got Juice Wells at wide receiver, you added Trey Knox at tight end, you got to figure out running back, but it's going to come down to offensive line play, guys. It doesn't matter how good of an OC Dowell Loggins is. It doesn't matter how good of a quarterback Spencer Rattler is. It doesn't matter how good Juice Wells is. None of that matters if you can't block. None of that matters if you can't get some sort of push. And South Carolina, I'm a broken record, but it's true. Year after year, for the past couple at least, the offensive line's been a deficiency. With the changing of the guard at offensive line coach, could Lonnie Teasley be the answer? Again, they improved under him last year. Will that continue? Could the offensive line surprise? I don't think Lonnie Teasley is a guy sort of like on the hot seat or anything where he's going to lose his job because, again, this is his first full season being the O-line coach. But there's real pressure to get that running game going and keep Spencer Rattler off his back, because if you can't do that, you're certainly not going to reach the full potential of what the 2023 football season could be. And finally, guys, from me, I think the Gamecocks football position coach that faces, without a doubt, the most pressure this upcoming season. He's also facing pressure in recruiting because South Carolina has not recruited the position at a very high level. That could change, right? South Carolina's in it for a couple of guys, but there has been a lot of angst, a lot of complaining, a lot of just very unsettled when it comes to the running back position. Montario Hardesty, your running backs coach. South Carolina's running back position. Maybe the greatest question mark on this football team going in the 2023 season. And again, it goes beyond the field of play for Hardesty. The recruiting hasn't been there either. This is no knock on Dontavius Braswell, but South Carolina has swung and missed, it seems like, on every single big running back prospect they've gone after. I mean, you look recently, just a couple of weeks ago, the kid they wanted that committed to Tennessee, right? And Hardesty, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what the deal is. I was honestly surprised that he was retained coming into this season. I think this is a season for Montario Hardesty that his job could be on the line. Like, I think the real pressure, like his job security, is dwindling as we know it. There is real pressure in regards to that. We spoke on the running game, 118.8 yards per game. You lose Marshawn Lloyd. Now you've got Juju, Mario Anderson, DeCarrion Joyner, true freshman Dontavius Braswell. Who else? Are you able to develop any of those guys? Are you able to bring somebody up to speed? Who's going to be your RB1? Because guess what? The season opener is going to come whether you like it or not. The season's going to come whether you like it or not. Somebody's got to be back there. Somebody's got to take the first snap at running back. Somebody's got to be the bell cow. And all I've seen from Montario Hardesty is last year, and I know Marshawn Lloyd was made of glass. I understand. Christian Beal-Smith couldn't stay healthy either, really. But it just feels like the running back position has fallen short of expectations. Even Marshawn Lloyd when healthy. The move to Jaheim Bell, putting him at running back. I know that was a Satterfield move. But the running back position, there's a lot there left to be desired, for sure. And when you mix in the bad recruiting, see, that's the thing, guys. You can get away with your unit underachieving. Hell, Jimmy Lindsey did it for 2 seasons. Again, if he had returned, he'd probably be number 1 on this list. Jimmy Lindsey, I think, did himself a favor going to Baton Rouge because his time in Columbia was about to be up whether he liked it or not. But Jimmy Lindsey recruited, and he recruited well. Sterling Lucas, he recruits very well. Lonnie Teasley and company, they've been recruiting very well. So I understand if you got guys, assistant coaches, position coaches that recruit well, and you don't want to disrupt sort of what you have going on, then I get it. But when you're a guy like Montario Hardesty, and this could change in the next couple of weeks, by the way. I know South Carolina's working on a couple of kids, so this very well could change, right? But when you're not recruiting at a high level, when you're missing on guys and the running game is porous and you're coming into a season where running back is your number 1 question, when you're not recruiting well, that's the big kicker. Because then recruiting is what gives you hope, right? Okay, it can still change. Well, he's a good recruiter. I mean, Will Muschamp got a second chance in coaching. Wasn't because he was a great head coach, but because he was a great recruiter, he could sell himself as, I can bring in top talent. And you'll get a chance. There's hope there if you're able to do that. Montario Hardesty has not been doing that at a high level. Not even an adequate level, I would say. We'll see what Dontavius Braswell is. But the performance of the running back position, the running game, if South Carolina's one-dimensional, they can't run the ball. And I mean, God forbid, it's hard to believe they could finish worse nationally in rushing than they did last year. But, guys, I think it's possible. I really do. I really do. 105th in the country last year. But it could get worse. It could get worse because of who you've got at the running back position, the status of the offensive line as well. And if Montario Hardesty is not able to take guys like Mario Anderson, like Dakereon Joyner, right? If he's not able, Dontavius Braswell, if he's not able to develop these guys, could be a very, very long season at the running back position. So Montario Hardesty, for me, guys, he is the Gamecocks football position coach. I don't think there's a position coach on this staff who needs a good season from their unit more than Montario Hardesty. Guys, that being said, let's jump into our first break of the day. On the other side, we're going to keep the conversation rolling here on this Tuesday. You're tuned in to the Daily Crow. Attention all Gamecock seafood lovers. Are you tired of searching for the freshest seafood in town? Look no further than the Carolina Fish Market, your go-to destination for the finest and most flavorful seafood in the Carolinas and beyond. Introducing the new Carolina Seafood Subscription Box, a culinary delight delivered right to your doorstep. Each month, you'll receive a carefully curated selection of fresh local seafood sourced directly from the waters of the Carolinas and beyond. From succulent shrimp to mouth-watering grouper to flounder or tuna and everything in between, their subscription box brings the ocean's bounty straight to your Gamecock kitchen. What sets the Carolina Fish Market apart is their commitment to quality and sustainability. They work closely with local fishermen and women who use responsible fishing practices, ensuring that every bite you take supports both your taste buds and our precious marine ecosystems. They've even won Best Seafood 5 out of the last 8 years. But that's not all. They're offering free shipping to all TSUS listeners on every Carolina Seafood subscription box, making it even easier for you to indulge in the flavors of the coast. Experience the convenience and joy of having fresh seafood delivered right to your door without any of the hassle. Don't miss on this incredible opportunity to elevate your culinary adventures with the Carolina Fish Market's Carolina Seafood subscription box. Join the seafood enthusiasts across the nation who are savoring the taste of the Carolinas, one delectable bite at a time, and just in time for Father's Day. Visit their website today at carolinafishmarket.com. That's carolinafishmarket.com, and embark on a seafood journey like no other. Freshness, flavor, and convenience await you. Order your Carolina Seafood subscription box now and use the promo code SPURSUP, that's SPURSUP, for $10 off your first purchase. Again, that's promo code SPURSUP, SPURSUP, for $10 off your first purchase. The Carolina Fish Market, where taste meets the ocean.
Muscle Dougie, ho.
All right, guys, we're back here on this Tuesday, June the 20th, 2023. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in here on this Tuesday. Again, we got JC Sherbert coming in our second hour, Q&A Power Hour upcoming in the third hour, where I definitely want to hear from you. 843-790-3377. That's 843-790-3377. Guys, that being said, we continue along our top 5 series as we talk today, the top 5 best defensive linemen in Gamecocks football history. We start at number 5. This man played for the Gamecocks from 2009 to 2012. During his career, he registered 161 total tackles, 35 and a half tackles for loss, 18 and a half sacks. He also had 2 interceptions for 2 touchdowns as well. One of the most physically imposing defensive linemen in the history of South Carolina. And at number 5 on our list, Devin Taylor. His standout season coming in 2010, the sophomore campaign, 46 total tackles, 13 tackles for loss, and 7.5 sacks. And guys, what really makes these numbers even more impressive is you think about the fact that in 2011 and 2012, he was playing across from Jadeveon Clowney. So obviously his numbers took a little bit of a hit, right? His numbers stepped back just a touch, but not a lot, right? 6 sacks in 2011, 3 sacks in 2012. I also go back to the fantastic story that Brad Lawing told, the late, great Brad Lawing, about Devin Taylor when he said he had his mother bring Devin to the stadium because he wanted to test him and see, right? Devin Taylor was a bit of a passive kid, if you will, and quiet, shy, standoffish, what have you. And Brad Lawing just wanted to see if he had that dog in him, right? Had that mean streak in him that you need to play defensive line in the SEC. And he said he lined up across from Devin Taylor and said, Devin, I'm going to give you a punch like an offensive lineman. I'm going to get up like an offensive lineman, put my hands up. I want you to give me your best pass rush move. And Brad Lawing said he got set and cocked back and punched Devin Taylor in the chest as hard as he could. And Devin Taylor's eyes went bloodshot. And I mean, guys, you all recall, right? This kid was like 6'7", 6'8", what have you. Brad Lawing rears back, punch him in the chest. Eyes go red. He said, Chris, I thought Devin was going to kick my ass. He said he was able to stop him, get him under control, and say, Devin, you're good. We want you at South Carolina. I just wanted to see if you had that response in you. So a great story and a great player. And Devin Taylor comes in at number 5 on our list. At number 4, this man played for the Gamecocks from 2007 to 2011. During his career, he had 111 total tackles, 30.5 tackles for loss, and 21.5 sacks. He also had 2 interceptions, 1 forced fumble. He had 2 touchdowns as well on fumble recoveries. He also, guys, had one of the most memorable plays in school history against the Georgia Bulldogs in 2011 on a fake punt in which he showed off his running back skills from high school and scored a touchdown. Coming in at number 4 on our list, Melvin Ingram. And guys, back to the late, great Brad Lawing. It's funny, I was actually having a conversation with Coach Lawing the last time I saw him just a couple of weeks ago or a month ago or so. Was having a conversation regarding, he had this picture in his man cave of Melvin Ingram, Jadeveon Clowney, and I think Cliff Matthews or something like that. Either way, though, Melvin Ingram's in the picture. We start talking about Melvin, and we get to the play against Georgia in 2011 on the fake punt, and I said, you know, he looked like he could have played running back. He said, Chris, I shit you not, Melvin Ingram would have been or could have been our starting running back his entire career at South Carolina. That's how good of an athlete he was. And you think about the physically imposing player that he was at South Carolina, started out as a linebacker in his first 2 seasons, transitioned to defensive line. His standout season coming in his final season, 2011, he had 48 total tackles, 15 tackles for loss, and 10 sacks, and also had 2 interceptions. So had the scoop and score also 2011 against Georgia. That was probably the game of his career, I would say. A huge part of some of the best defensive lines in school history. And he comes in at number 4 on our list. At number 3 on our list, this man played for the Gamecocks from 1979 to 1982. During his career, he recorded 401 tackles, 35 tackles for loss, and 26 sacks. He was named to South Carolina's modern era all-time team, and he was inducted into the University of South Carolina Athletics Hall of Fame in 2010. He was also named to the SEC Football Legends class in 2010. He set the school's single-season sack record in his senior year in 1982 with 10 sacks. Led Carolina in tackles in 81-82. Named an All-American by the Sporting News. Named third-team All-American by the AP. Second-team All-American in 82. Did a little bit of everything. Number 3 on our list, Andrew Province. And, of course, guys, somebody who was before my time as a Gamecock fan. But, guys, you look at those numbers. 401 tackles. That is insane. And we've talked about, you guys know how I feel about consistency. Consistency truly stands out above all else, right? To do it one season is one thing, even 2 seasons. But a 4-year career, led the Gamecocks in tackles 2 straight seasons, averaging 100 tackles a season. I mean, that is truly just insane. You talk about being a force on the inside. Andrew Province was exactly that. And he comes in at number 3 on our list. At number 2 on our list, he played for the Gamecocks from 1996 to 1999. During his career, he tallied 23 and a half sacks, 4th on the program's all-time list, and also had a Hall of Fame, eventual, I will say, Hall of Fame NFL career. One of the most feared pass rushers in school history. And at number 2 on our list, John Abraham. And John Abraham, a friend of the show, got to talk to him a couple of years ago here on these airwaves. And, you know, it's a shame, honestly. The shame with John Abraham is that he played on those teams in the 90s that were just not very good. Call it what it is. I mean, obviously, guys, he was on the 98 and the 99 teams that went 1-21, 1-11, and then or 1-10, and then 0-11 back-to-back seasons. But John Abraham, a fantastic player on those teams, 96 to 99. And a guy, believe it or not, guys, that played basketball. He didn't even play football, I think, until like his senior year of high school, right? Under the radar type of recruit, turned into a huge success for South Carolina. And again, you think about his career, not just at Carolina, but in the NFL as well and what he did, but specifically in Columbia. One of the all-time greats at South Carolina, and he is number 2 on our list. And coming in at number 1, this man played for the Gamecocks from 2011 to 2013. During his career, he registered 129 total tackles, 47 tackles for loss, and 24 sacks. He also had 9 forced fumbles during that span, and he provided one of the most memorable plays in school history, simply known as the hit. He led some of the greatest defensive lines in school history, and dare I say, the most intimidating, the most feared defensive player in school history. Coming in at number 1 on our list, Jadeveon Clowney, and a man who just had his jersey retired at the beginning of last season. I mean, guys, has there ever been a more dominant force on the defensive side at South Carolina when you think about the fact that teams literally had to shift their game plan based off of, okay, where's Jadeveon Clowney? Where is J.D. Clowney? What is he doing on this play? Who's he lined up against? Teams had to literally know where he was at every single moment. His standout season coming in 2012, 54 total tackles, 23 and a half tackles for loss. That is insane. And 13 sacks on the season. He also had 3 forced fumbles and a fumble recovery, which we all recall what it was, the forced fumble and recovery in the Michigan game, which really encapsulated just how dominant and how fearsome he was. Say what you want about his NFL career. Has he lived up to the hype? Blah, 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 whatever. There were a lot of expectations placed on him after that 2012 season, but there has not been a more dominant defensive force and a player that changes the game of the opponent more than Jadeveon Clowney. Also, by the way, no big deal, the top-rated signee in program history at a perfect 1.000. on the 24/7 Sports Composite. And guys, if it could go higher than 1.000, guess what? It would, because Jadeveon Clowney was that good coming out of high school. Again, number 1 on our list, Jadeveon Clowney. So once again, my top 5, the best defensive lineman in school history. Number 5, Devin Taylor. Number 4, Melvin Ingram. Number 3, Andrew Province. Number 2, John Abraham. And number 1, Jadeveon Clowney. Guys, that being said, let's jump into the quick break. On the other side, we'll keep the convo rolling here on this Tuesday. You're tuned in to the Daily Crow. Attention all Gamecocks seafood lovers. Are you tired of searching for the freshest seafood in town? Look no further than the Carolina Fish Market, your go-to destination for the finest and most flavorful seafood in the Carolinas and beyond. Introducing the new Carolina Seafood Subscription Box, a culinary delight delivered right to your doorstep. Each month, you'll receive a carefully curated selection of fresh local seafood sourced directly from the waters of the Carolinas and beyond. From succulent shrimp to mouth-watering grouper to flounder or tuna and everything in between, their subscription box brings the ocean's bounty straight to your Gamecock kitchen. What sets the Carolina Fish Market apart is their commitment to quality and sustainability. They work closely with local fishermen and women who use responsible fishing practices, ensuring that every bite you take supports both your taste buds and our precious marine ecosystems. They've even won Best Seafood 5 out of the last 8 years. But that's not all. They're offering free shipping to all TSUS listeners on every Carolina Seafood subscription box, making it even easier for you to indulge in the flavors of the coast. Experience the convenience and joy of having fresh seafood delivered right to your door without any of the hassle. Don't miss on this incredible opportunity to elevate your culinary adventures with the Carolina Fish Market's Carolina Seafood Subscription Box. Join the seafood enthusiasts across the nation who are savoring the taste of the Carolinas, one delectable bite at a time, and just in time for Father's Day. Visit their website today at carolinafishmarket.com. That's carolinafishmarket.com, and embark on a seafood journey like no other. Freshness, flavor, and convenience await you. Order your Carolina Seafood Subscription Box now and use the promo code SPURSUP, that's SPURSUP, for $10 off your first purchase. Again, that's promo code SPURSUP, SPURSUP, for $10 off your first purchase. The Carolina Fish Market, where taste meets the ocean.
Muscle Dougie, ho.
All right, guys, we're back here on this Tuesday, June the 20th, 2023. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Like I mentioned, we got JC Sherbert upcoming in the second hour, and all of your questions, your comments, your calls in the third hour as well. Again, guys, let me say thank you all so much. We got some big changes upcoming to TSUS.store, our online storefront, if you will. Really, really excited. Over the next couple of weeks, we'll be relaunching the store, revamping the merchandise as a whole, everything from the actual material we are using to the customer experience to everything included in your order. It's going to be awesome, man. I can't wait. It's going to be a game changer for merchandise. And again, guys, I cannot wait to share it with you all. I think you're going to be very, very, very excited and very happy to see what we've got in store in regards to the merchandise front. So really, really cool stuff, guys. In the meantime, we're going to keep the conversation rolling as we keep the top 5 series rolling, as we talk top 5 best linebackers in Gamecocks football history. And on that note, let me start by saying this. We just talked defensive linemen, best defensive lineman in school history. I saw some of you commenting, where is Eric Norwood? Where is Eric Norwood? Why is he not listed? You might recall Eric Norwood played both defensive line and linebacker at South Carolina. I know this via him specifically because we had Eric on the show a couple of years ago, and we talked about his career, his position changes, etc. So for the sake of the lists and the sake of these conversations, I have grouped Eric Norwood with the linebackers. So do not fret. Nobody's forgetting about one of the greatest of all time, I can assure you. With that being said, let's get into our list. We'll begin at number 5. This man played for the Gamecocks from 1979 to 1983. During his career, he amassed 405 total tackles, 6 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, 3 interceptions, 11 pass breakups, and 4 forced fumbles. He was a force in the early 80s for South Carolina and one of the leaders on some of the best defenses in school history. At number 5 on our list, J.D. Fuller. And guys, I've talked to folks that actually played with J.D. Fuller, who were alongside J.D. Fuller, and some claim him to be the best linebacker in school history. When you think about the fire ant defense that came out in 1984 and just how good South Carolina was, Fuller was a guy that was a leader for South Carolina in those years leading up to that. Again, guys, you talk about the consistency. His standout year, 1981, 143 total tackles, 2 tackles for loss, and a sack. Then in 82, 131 total tackles, 1 tackle for loss, 1 sack, and 3 interceptions. And then in 1983, 121 total tackles, 3 tackles for loss. Did not have a sack that year. But either way, guys, one of the greatest in school history, no doubt, a leader on some of the best defenses in school history. And for that reason and many more, he comes in at number 5 on our list. At number 4, this man played for the Gamecocks from 2013 to 2017. During his career, he registered 351 total tackles, 20 tackles for loss, and 5 sacks. He also recorded 14 interceptions, the most in school history. He also had a touchdown during his career, 6 pass deflections, and 3 fumble recoveries to go along with 3 forced fumbles as well. At number 4 on our list, Sky Moore. And his biggest season, ironically enough, coming in one of South Carolina's worst seasons, 110 total tackles, 6.5 tackles for loss, and 2 sacks with 4 interceptions in the 2015 season. Also, guys, something amazing. You might recall he missed the entire 2016 season due to injury, right? I think he tore his ACL or something like that. Comes back from that, and in his senior season after injury, 93 total tackles, 8 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, and 3 more interceptions. Ball hawk is a great way to describe this guy. He could do a little bit of everything, was great in the rushing defense, was great, obviously, against the pass. Sky Moore, truly a leader on the Gamecocks defense. And what a career just up and down he had, because he saw the best of times, was a true freshman in 2013. He saw the worst of times as a junior in 2015. And then, of course, in 2017, he was a senior on that team that went and won the Outback Bowl. But one thing remained consistent. Sky Moore, over that period, was your best linebacker and one of your best defensive players on those teams. And he comes in at number 4 on our list. At number 3, this man played for the Gamecocks from 2006 to 2008. During his career, he registered 193 total tackles, 20 tackles for loss, and 7.5 sacks. He also had 3 interceptions and 4 pass deflections to his total. But truly what he was known for was being just a physically imposing headhunter type of linebacker. At number 3, Jasper Brinkley. And guys, when I say that name, immediately you go to 2006, the season opener against Mississippi State, where he just rings the bell of the Mississippi State quarterback. Or when he truck sticked Tim Tebow and drove him into the ground. I mean, Jasper Brinkley was the type of linebacker, guys, I honestly don't know how well he would do in today's game, because the way that he played the game, the way he was so physically imposing, dude, I don't know if a guy like that, bro, he'd probably get flagged once a game for targeting, right? But just an old school type of linebacker, man. 06 was his breakout year, his first year with South Carolina. 107 total tackles, 14 tackles for loss, and 5 sacks to his credit. He battled injury in 2007, played in just 4 games, but did make a memorable play in that season, you might recall. Had the interception against Georgia in Athens to close out the 16-12 win in that ball game. And then in 2008, as a senior, 65 total tackles, 5 tackles for loss, and 2.5 sacks. When you think of a great linebacker, a physically imposing linebacker, a run stopper, a do-it-all type of player, the name that jumps out to me is Jasper Brinkley, and he is number 3 on our list. At number 2, he played for the Gamecocks from 1981 to 1984. During his tenure, he racked up 384 total tackles, 22 tackles for loss, 5 sacks, and 2 interceptions. He also had 5 forced fumbles and a fumble recovery to his credit. And we talked J.D. Fuller just a bit earlier, the leader of those defenses alongside J.D. Fuller, and the leader of one of the best defenses in school history, the Fire Ant defense. And number 2 on our list, James Seawright. And you look at the recognition he received. 1984 was an All-American by the AP, by the football writers. Second team by Football News. Second team by the UPI. 148 tackles in that 1984 season. 8 tackles for loss and 1 sack. He also had a fumble recovery and a forced fumble in that season. But when you think about that 84 defense, guys, the Fire Ant defense, and for a guy like a James Seawright to be the leader on that team, and I mean, the rest of his career was pretty damn good too. You talk about consistency. 92 tackles as a freshman, 76 as a sophomore, 68 as a junior, and 148 as a senior. I don't have it pulled up right in front of me, but I got to imagine 148 tackles in a season. I got to think that's some sort of record. I don't have it pulled up in front of me. I got to think that's some sort of record, though. But a model of consistency and a leader, All-American, on that 1984 defense, and number 2 on our list. And coming in at number 1, this man played for the Gamecocks from 2006 to 2009. During his career, He registered 255 total tackles, 55 tackles for loss, 29 sacks, a school record, 2 interceptions, and a fumble recovery as well. One of the most daunting defensive players in school history, and a man who, as I mentioned, his name is still on the turnstiles at Williams-Brice Stadium. Number 1 on our list, Eric Norwood. And again, for the sake of the conversation, I have grouped him with linebackers. He played both linebacker and defensive line. This coming from conversations I've had directly with Eric Norwood. So take it as good info. Either way, it doesn't matter what list you want to put him on. He is number 1. Recognizing his greatness is important. His standout season, his final season, 2009. He registered 81 total tackles, 11.5 tackles for loss, and 7 sacks. Also 2 interceptions, one of which he returned for a touchdown in the 2009 game in Athens against the Georgia Bulldogs. You know, cool story, guys. Cool story. Yours truly. I was actually at the 2006 Florida Atlantic game. You might think to yourself, why is that relevant? 2006 Florida Atlantic was Eric Norwood's first career sack. Fast forward a couple of years. I was also at the 2009 Ole Miss game. Eric Norwood's record-breaking sack. So it was really cool to see the first and see the record breaker. And I mean, really from the jump, guys, Eric Norwood was dominant as a true freshman. 30 tackles, but 9.5 tackles for loss, 7 sacks. This dude just had a knack for getting to the quarterback. I mean, you talk about a guy that's got a knack for making plays, that just knows how to rush the passer. And of course, Brad Lawing, his first season being in 2006. And guess what? It was no secret. Eric Norwood was one of his favorite pieces on that defense to play around with, put him in different positions to rush the quarterback and make his life hell. And did Eric Norwood ever do that? He had 69 tackles in his second season, 19.5 for loss, 6 sacks. In his junior season, 75 total tackles, 14.5 tackles for loss, and 9 sacks. And as we mentioned, the final 09 season, his senior year, 81 total tackles, 11.5 tackles for loss, and 7 sacks. Man, Eric Norwood, I mean, one of the greatest defensive players in school history. A fantastic dude, by the way, a friend of the show. But watching him, there have been few like Eric Norwood. I mean, really, truly, there have been few that have matched the greatness or have even come close to matching the greatness of what 40 did for South Carolina. And I truly do believe he was one of the key pieces in building the foundation leading up to the run that we saw for South Carolina football under Steve Spurrier, 2010 to 2013. And he is more than deserving of number 1 on our list. So again, guys, my top 5 best linebackers in school history. At number 5, J.D. Fuller. Number 4, Sky Moore. Number 3, Jasper Brinkley. Number 2, James Seawright. And at number 1, Eric Norwood. Guys, that being said, let's jump into another quick break. On the other side, we will get JC Sherbert to the Big Spur of Inside the Gamecocks on the show. We got a lot to discuss and a lot to get into here on this Tuesday. All that and more on the side. You're tuned in to the Daily Crow. Attention all Gamecocks seafood lovers. Are you tired of searching for the freshest seafood in town? Look no further than the Carolina Fish Market, your go-to destination for the finest and most flavorful seafood in the Carolinas and beyond. Introducing the new Carolina Seafood Subscription Box, a culinary delight delivered right to your doorstep. Each month, you'll receive a carefully curated selection of fresh local seafood sourced directly from the waters of the Carolinas and beyond. From succulent shrimp to mouth-watering grouper to flounder or tuna and everything in between, their subscription box brings the ocean's bounty straight to your Gamecock kitchen. What sets the Carolina Fish Market apart is their commitment to quality and sustainability. They work closely with local fishermen and women who use responsible fishing practices, ensuring that every bite you take supports both your taste buds and our precious marine ecosystems. They've even won Best Seafood 5 out of the last 8 years. But that's not all. They're offering free shipping to all TSUS listeners on every Carolina Seafood subscription box, making it even easier for you to indulge in the flavors of the coast. Experience the convenience and joy of having fresh seafood delivered right to your door without any of the hassle. Don't miss on this incredible opportunity to elevate your culinary adventures with the Carolina Fish Market's Carolina Seafood subscription box. Join the seafood enthusiasts across the nation who are savoring the taste of the Carolinas, one delectable bite at a time, and just in time for Father's Day. Visit their website today at carolinafishmarket.com. That's carolinafishmarket.com, and embark on a seafood journey like no other. Freshness, flavor, and convenience await you. Order your Carolina Seafood subscription box now and use the promo code SPURSUP, that's SPURSUP, for $10 off your first purchase. Again, that's promo code SPURSUP, SPURSUP, for $10 off your first purchase. The Carolina Fish Market, where taste meets the ocean.
Muscle Dougie, ho.
All right, guys, we're back here on this Tuesday, June the 20th, 2023. You can appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. We got JC Sherbert coming up in about 10 minutes or so. In the meantime, I see, is this the actual Robbie Davis? Robbie Davis, HOF. I'm sure Robbie will call us later in the show and confirm whether that's him or that is some random whatever. somebody making a Robbie Davis account, but it looks like we might have Robbie Davis actually in the chat. So, anyways, guys, again, we got JC upcoming very soon. Again, want to say thank y'all so much for tuning in. I hope you're having a fantastic week. Really excited for what's coming, what's on the horizon, guys, and to get into this 2023, I would say, preseason content. I would view it right now, and I'm not trying to, there's some out there that'll tell you, like, there's no offseason. Like, I would say this time of year, if your team's not in the College World Series, it is the offseason. And I kind of quantify it and break it down as such. Like, this is the offseason. I'm excited to get into preseason content, right? It's just so much fun when we start locking in the projections and the predictions and stuff like that. And certainly, again, I will do that on July 5th and 6th. I'll do my part 1, part 2 of my season predictions. And then on that Friday, I think will be a good day to drop the full helmet schedule, SEC predictions reveal, if you will, and give my predictions for every single SEC team. Really, really excited, guys. Really pumped to get this SEC team preview series going tomorrow. We're going to break down every single team in the SEC, as well as do the opponent preview series later in the month of July. That'll really take up, I would say, the second half of the month of July is probably what that'll take up. And then first week or second week of August, we get into our position unit preview series, which is a lot of fun. And then, of course, we come up to kickoff, and there we are, and fall camps in full swing and stuff like that. So really, really great stuff. Again, guys, in the meantime, 843-790-3377. That's 843-790-3377. Somebody posted a picture of, and this is Cox by One in the Big Cock Club Discord, TDC Questions channel, of Jasper Brinkley and Casper Brinkley at South Carolina. What a fun duo. Remember, we had the Brinkley brothers. We also had the Lindsay twins, Dustin Lindsay and Jordan Lindsay. Yeah, I mean, it's funny, guys. I don't have to prove anything, but I tell you this, there's people out there that question my fandom of when I became a fan. I am more than happy to do any sort of South Carolina trivia that, like, you want to ask me questions, pepper me with questions. And if you're only going to know this if you were a fan in 2005, 2006, like, bro, I'd be more than happy to do that, because, like, those are the teams that I grew up on. So, like, bro, I knew damn near every player on those teams, every player. So, those are great teams, though. Those are great teams. And the Brinkley brothers, the Lindsay twins. It's crazy. Jasper Brinkley's son is in the recruiting circuit. Is that not wild? That is crazy. That really is wild when you think about it. Really is wild when you think about it, for sure. Anyways, guys, bowl projections are out by some. You're starting to see record projections drop from others, right? You're starting to see record projections drop. The folks over at That SEC Podcast, Michael Bratton and cousin Shane, they are predicting Carolina to go 9-3 with a win over Clemson. And I tell you this, there is not a Gamecock fan in existence who would not take 9-3 with a win over Clemson. Not a single one. Also, guys, let me say this, because I'm sure there's many of you out there, because this is just unfortunately the reality of social media. This is the reality of social media. But I would say this, guys. The post from the Fan Upstate, I went on Mark Ryan's radio station yesterday, and the Fan Upstate tweeted this yesterday. Shane Beamer in South Carolina recruiting was on fire in April, but the Gamecocks haven't received a commitment from a blue-chip recruit in almost 2 months. Is there a cause for concern, or are big things on the horizon? At the Spurs Up Show answers. I don't think I'm catching as much hell, because maybe people did listen to the audio. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'll just say this. If you listen to the audio, I was asked by Mark, Chris, are you worried about recruiting? And I said, absolutely not. South Carolina's got a huge weekend upcoming, a.k.a. this weekend that we're going to talk to JC Sherbert about in depth. They got a huge recruiting weekend upcoming. They're in it for a lot of these blue chip guys that just haven't decided yet. And recruiting is somewhat kind of cyclical, right? Like, you get these commitments in bunches, if you will. It really just depends on when these guys want to make their announcements. So, for the people that, again, maybe saw that headline and were unsure, they didn't click the link, they didn't listen, they were unsure of what I said, I told Mark Ryan, no, there's nothing to be worried about. Like, South Carolina is they're going to get the guys they need. I think they're still on pace to finish with a very highly ranked recruiting class. I mean, you think about the fish that are out there with like a guy like Dylan Stewart. I mean, that's certainly the piece. He's sort of like your Nicholas Harbor of last year. So I think South Carolina is in a great position. But I wanted to make that very clear because I see that tweet especially still getting action. It's at 27.4 thousand views. And people are all over. I think people are more so all over Mark Ryan for even asking the question. But I just, maybe I'm crazy, man. I still just say this. I don't know why people take it so personally. Like, Mark Ryan asks me that question. I didn't take it personally at all. I mean, Carolina hadn't gotten a blue chip commitment since April. It's just a fact. It's not a slight, it's a fact. So he just simply asked me the question, and I responded. And that's all there was to it. Like, there was nothing personal about it. There was nothing, I thought, over the top about the question, and it didn't bother me in the slightest. I don't really know why people took it personally on social media at all. No, Brendan, I'm actually not attacking you at all, my friend. I'm actually not, Brendan. That wasn't even in reference to you. I'm talking more so, Brendan, you are far from the only person who didn't listen to that audio, my friend. I know you know what I think about recruiting, but I'm sure there might be some tuned in. I'm sure there were many out there, but I almost kind of like doing that. To me, I'll just say this. People like our guy, should I call him out by name? He's not the only one, so I'm not going to. But there are just people that really bitch and moan about quote-unquote clickbait culture and this, that, whatever. And I almost think it's a great case study because it shows how lazy people are. You put up a headline on something to get someone to engage. I mean, guys, you don't want to be clickbaity, but you also don't want to be boring. There is a middle ground somewhere, right? But it's fun to watch people. It's actually hysterical to watch people react and lose their shit and not even view the article, not view the audio, not listen to it, and not even know the full context of what is being discussed. People expose themselves in that way. And it's honestly, I think it's hysterical. I think it's flat out hysterical. I really do. And Brendan, it's all love to our guy, James. He's just the one that brought it up in the Discord. I mean, it's fine. There's nothing to call out. Our guy, James, in the Discord, he's an awesome dude. But he says that a guy like Mark Ryan is nothing but clickbait. And listen to me. I can tell you there's some headlines he throws out there. They feel a bit clickbaitish. But as I've said before, guys, as much as you blame a guy like a Mark Ryan being like he is, or you don't like the way ESPN is with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp and Stephen A. Smith, but guys, you can bitch and moan all you want, but the only reason media is like that is because it works. That's what plays in this social media society. The end consumer has to take some accountability. Has to. Because guess what? You can complain about what the Fan Upstate does and Mark Ryan does. Hell, you can complain about what the Spurs Up Show does at times. But all Mark Ryan and that crew sees is that last tweet where I was on 27.4 thousand views. And I bet you the engagements are great too. Hell, I'm not saying it's right, but it's an engagements game and it's a views game. That's literally what it comes down to. That's what it comes down to. Now, I'm not saying you should be creating content for clicks and clickbaitish. I'm not saying you should do that, right? And I don't even really think that Mark and them did that in that latest one with the Fan Upstate. But I think what it is with those guys, and I'll just leave it at this, it's not even so that specific tweet. It's all of the other stuff that has built angst with Gamecock Nation. And now it's just kind of to the point that even if Mark Ryan is trying to have constructive conversation about the Gamecocks on his airwaves, and he's just trying to be a little bit edgy, it doesn't play well because of kind of what his relationship, I don't know. It's the beauty's in the banter, and that's all I'll say. With that being said, I know somebody who else that believes that the beauty is in the banter. And we're already getting questions from our chat. We're already getting questions from our chat about this weekend and recruiting. Who better to bring on to talk recruiting, Gamecocks, everything in between than our friend who joins us every Tuesday, JC Sherbert of the Big Spur inside the Gamecocks. JC, what's going on, my friend? Great to see you. How are you?
Hey, great to be with you today, Chris. Happy Tuesday to everybody out there.
Happy Tuesday indeed, JC. How was your weekend? How was your Father's Day, by the way?
Very good. Very nice day. Relaxing. The fiance did not have to work on Monday, so we had some porch time, some grill time, adult beverage time. Just a really nice, cool night too. So it wasn't overly hot, and that's always a good day. So I had a good one. Had a little brunch in the morning, did some errands, and then chilled on the back porch. So that's I'm a simple man, Chris. That's kind of what makes me happy, you know.
Hey, it's that time of year for it, my friend. Firing up the grill, the weather's warm, right? It's a great time to do it. JC, I'm going to get into all the football stuff, recruiting. There's a ton to talk about with this weekend upcoming, but I first want to start on the baseball side of things because the Yardcocks have a new pitching coach. Justin Parker departs for Mississippi State to take over as their pitching coach. Gamecocks act very quickly as basically simultaneously they hire Matt Williams from Liberty. What do you know about this guy? Your overall thoughts? Again, he has ties to the state of South Carolina from working at Spartanburg Methodist. He's also spent time at UNC Wilmington and Liberty and done a great job for them. And it seems like the feedback and the reaction that I've got, that I've seen on social media and also those I've talked to, was that this is a great pickup. And it's no disrespect to Justin Parker, but it almost feels like maybe an upgrade of sorts, or it could turn out that way. Your overall thoughts and, again, your feelings on the new pitching coach for South Carolina.
I mean, this is kind of one of those things in coaching that, you know, a guy may turn down a job or the timing may not be right in certain situations at one point, and then eventually the timing works out and they take it. I think that's probably the case of Matt Williams. He was, when Kingston hired Justin Parker, Matt Williams was the top choice for the job. And it just didn't work out at the time. I don't know whether that's because he had some guys coming back in Wilmington or what, wasn't ready to leave yet. But the timing worked out this time pretty quickly. And he's from Lancaster. He's a guy that, you know, if you sit there and you kind of clump him with Monty Lee, you know, those guys will likely solve the issues of in-state recruiting this baseball program's had and solve them in short order. You know, the ERA, staff ERA or whatever, dipped a little bit at Liberty last year. It was still up there, though. And I don't know enough about what their personnel was like last season to kind of talk intelligently about it, Chris. But the guys had, you know, outstanding pitching. He was the pitching coach for that Wilmington team that came in and took the Gamecocks to the wire under the Holbrook era in 2016, the last time Holbrook took a team to the Super Regionals. Remember, the Gamecocks had to come back and win 2 games in a day, I think, to win that. But, you know, it's a guy, like I said, a lot of respect in the baseball community. I know John Whittle loves the guy. Thinks he's a really good pickup. And, you know, away you go. I think that I kind of compare it a little bit to when in football, I'll take you back to 2008. You know, Tyrone Nix leaves and goes to Ole Miss, and Steve Spurrier hires Brian Van Gorder, who at the time was just a few years removed from being a dominant defensive coordinator at Georgia. He was in the NFL with the Falcons, goes and hires him away from the Falcons. He comes, he works for 30 days, and then boom, the Falcons D coordinator job comes open. They offered to him, so he goes back to the NFL. So everybody's panicked. Oh my God, you know, lost Brian Van Gorder. Well, then Spurrier hired Ellis Johnson, who had kind of been angling for the job and even thought about coming during the Holtz era. And didn't. And the timing again there had not worked out. Well, it did that time. And we saw what Ellis Johnson did. I mean, he did a lot of damage, good damage during his tenure as the D coordinator at South Carolina. And, you look and eventually here's Van Gorder back in college at Auburn on a winless SEC team, getting fired, and then ends up kind of scrounging around, going to Notre Dame for a while and kind of faded out there. While, Ellis, up until his final year at Auburn, was one of the best coordinators in the SEC, plus an in-state guy. And so I think there's something to be said for in-state guys, especially when they're good at their job. When you lose a guy like a Justin Parker, a good named pitching coach who had an outstanding couple of years, he had an outstanding year piecing it together last year. And then this year, obviously, even though they lost a couple of starters for a good portion of the season, they had a pretty good ERA, and the pitching was, with the exception of maybe one or two weekends, Auburn and Kentucky, I think the pitching held up pretty good. So, it's just one of those things. It's like, sometimes something looks bad when it happens. But, I think it's this way in life too. But how you respond is what matters. And I think that Mark Kingston responded, and Ray Tanner and those guys responded in a really big way, and hired a guy that just makes all the sense in the world to come to South Carolina and be the pitching coach.
JC, speaking of responding in the right way, it's inevitable guys are going to leave in this era of transfer portal, right? I mean, nobody's going to be at zero, right? I mean, you're going to have guys that move on for greener pastures or whatever it might be, whatever the reasons are. But I see South Carolina, picking up so many guys. I mean, you look at the pitcher they got from Virginia Tech. They got an outfielder from Charlotte. It feels to me, and from your conversations, JC, would you agree that, and maybe this is taking it a step too far, but it almost feels like South Carolina baseball is like a professional organization. Like, I know high school recruiting is important, but Kingston's showing, and obviously we talked a lot last year going into this season, that they were being compared to what Texas A&M was in 2022, right? A team that was built through the transfer portal. It feels like to me that's not just going to be a one-year thing. Like, I think Mark Kingston fully believes in the portal, what it can do for his ball club. So would you agree? I'd almost tell fans buckle up, because it's going to be practically a new look ball club every single year, outside of maybe a couple of holdover pieces, because they're going to continue to utilize the portal to bolster their roster year after year.
Yeah, and I think in baseball, you look around college baseball in general. I mean, I'll give you examples from the SEC. Paul Skeens and the Waldrop kid from Florida. They were at Air Force and Southern Miss last year. Ironically, Caleb Denny comes from Oral Roberts, and then they get some guys, and they go to the College World Series. So it's one of those things where I think in this sport in particular, it's like, free agency in baseball. You're always looking to bolster your lineup. I think what would be wild is if you could do it in the middle of the season.
Trade
that
deadline.
would be wild. You got a trade deadline.
Yeah.
That would be wild. But I'm kidding about that. But I think that's what it's going to be. And I'm curious to see how the high school recruiting fundamentally changes in terms of hits and misses, is what we call them in recruiting. Because in this sport for a while, and they changed the rules this year, Chris, you had so many guys that were like eighth graders, freshmen committing. It puts pressure on everybody. Well, Georgia offered this freshman from our backyard. Well, maybe we got to offer. Maybe we got to take a commit, blah, 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 blah. And having evaluated football, and I know baseball is probably not as developmental, but you still have to develop, and you don't know. Guys can get hot for 1 year and then stink the rest of the time. Guys lose it all of a sudden. I mean, I'm a Braves fan. I remember Mark Wohlers was one of those dominant closers in baseball, and then next thing you know, you turn around, the guy's throwing it over the backstop. I mean, it's a weird game, and it'll humble you. So I think it's almost, and you've seen, Chris, a lot of schools, not just South Carolina, get in the portal and add key places. I think it's made it really hard on college baseball coaches in general to have any sort of consistency with, oh, well, this class is special. All 9 of these guys hit. They kind of came through together, built up together, and now they're ready to go. I think those days maybe over because of the portal. But then number 2, I think those days were probably impossible to have just because, I mean, man, I look back when I played ball in 8th grade, and I was probably a 4-star. Yes, it's just different. I mean, you can't sit there. Getting commits for 8th grade is ridiculous. And then if you're a new coach and you take over, you have to honor those commitments. College baseball recruiting is like putting a gigantic puzzle together because there's only 11.7 scholarships. A lot of these guys are walk-ons or their own book. Our book, just get book money, just get meal money, whatever. And so it makes for an interesting quandary. It just without the transfer portal, NIL, all this stuff. Now, it's even more difficult. So I agree with you. I think it's here to stay. I think, South Carolina is one of the premier baseball environments in the country. They're one of the historically great programs. They should be attractive to players out there that want to come play baseball in a big time environment. So, we'll see what happens, but I'm kind of with you. I think after the success they had with it this year and that the way they just kind of instantly turn it around, even a guy like, Chris Veach, came from PC, was anybody fired up or like just, oh my God, they got Chris Veach. Wow. No, they weren't, but man, they sure loved it when he was throwing all those sliders and change-ups, right? Or whatever. It was either slider, change-up one, but yeah, I mean, look, I think that, I think that's something that works out. And and I will say though, there are guys that have come in as high schoolers like Cole Messina and like Ethan Petrie and, those Talmadge Lee Croy. I mean, those guys, I think Talmadge Lee Croy was a high school guy. Those guys are going to be fine. But you got 9 in the lineup. You got pitching. I mean, you got a lot of moving parts on the baseball roster. So, I think the idea with every program, including Carolina, is going to be to, go to work and maximize that at this time every single year. And, quite frankly, as someone that kind of follows it now, I think it's sort of fun to kind of look and see how they're going to piece it all together.
Indeed. Well, speaking of recruiting and piecing it together, JC, we moved to Gamecocks football. South Carolina picking up a commitment from 2024 3-star linebacker Fred Johnson over the weekend. I know you talked about him briefly last week, but he measures 6'3", 225 out of Norfolk, Virginia, Maury High School. Just talk about what South Carolina is getting out of Fred Johnson at the linebacker position.
Big time athlete. One thing I've noticed about Clayton White is we've sort of, I guess, watched him work for 3 years or so is that he likes taller, longer linebackers. He puts kind of a premium on length. And that's why you saw Brad Johnson starting all those years that he did. He likes that kind of body type. His defense is a little unique. They only play 2 at a time. But you look, Pup Howard's a big 6'3", 6'4" kid. Wendell Gregory's a 6'3", 6'4" kid. Now this kid's 6'3", 6'4". So he's kind of how I think Clayton White draws them up. I like it because when you're South Carolina, if you're trying to put together recruiting classes that are going to allow you to compete in the SEC, you got to kind of find other spots besides the state, which South Carolina, frankly, has never done, but they've also never won an SEC championship. Other places besides the state where you can go land like legit elite guys, right? Like no-brainer type NFL guys. Well, they got one area like that right now in DC, Maryland, where they're doing good work. Landed a bunch of guys last year. They're probably going to land a bunch this year. Quality guys, right? I've always thought the state of North Carolina was kind of that Shangri-La, if you will, recruiting wise, because a lot of it's so close to South Carolina. But, kids in that state right now, it is a little bit because of Mac Brown and him getting more in-state talent. But they also, NC State's coaches have been there a long time. They're consistent. And then a lot of kids in that state just straight up want to go. If it's not a blue blood, they're not answering your call these days. And looking at the talent level up there most years, I mean, may not be a bad thing, if you're missing on some of these guys. Mm-hmm. So Virginia to me, because there's a lot of, you got Beamer's name there and you got a lot of students from Virginia that go to Carolina, especially what's called the Tidewater, the 757, Norfolk, Virginia Beach, Hampton Roads, that area. I mean, you're talking about the place that produced the Michael Vick, Marcus Vick, Allen Iverson, name your Virginia Tech Hokie All-American. I mean, it is a place that's loaded with talent. And if you look back and see how Frank Beamer built Virginia Tech, a lot of times, from Northern Virginia, Richmond, somebody like that, a big-time guy wouldn't want to stay home. He would go out of state. They just go to the 757 and get an underrated guy that often was better. But it's also the type of place, knowing people there, following it when I used to do recruiting nationally, that you don't just waltz up there and start getting guys. You got to build trust with the community. You got to get your name in there. So what this does with Fred Johnson is it gives South Carolina that first guy. And then there could be a second guy because they're really heavily involved with receiver Kalen Adams too. So you start thinking, well, if they get these two guys, that's a start. And then so all of a sudden, you're kind of juggling areas now, and you're like, well, South Carolina here for a couple of years has been accustomed to getting top guys from D.C., Maryland. Now they're going to start getting accustomed to getting top guys from the 757. They're already dominating the state. So, wow, then all of a sudden, little old South Carolina is out there winning battles in places that make sense for them to win. And you sign 25 to 30 a year, and a higher percentage of those are higher quality guys because you're able to go get a lot of out-of-state guys. That's when you start looking at your roster and saying, well, it compares favorably to the rest of this league. So I think it's a brilliant plan. I'd kind of like to see them develop even more little talent pockets in addition to the 757 in Maryland, DC. And I think they will. But, the fact that this could be the start of something in that area to me is very, very exciting.
JC, a huge recruiting weekend upcoming for Shane Beamer and company. I know you guys had Hale McGranahan on your show today, who does a fantastic job, by the way. But the official visits list, guys like Dylan Stewart, Josiah Thompson, Cam Pringle, Wendell Gregory, Jonathan Paylor, Maz Bennett, Daniel Hill, Kelvin Hunter, Dante Reno, Blake Franks, and David Busey, all scheduled, confirmed to be on campus this weekend. And obviously the big ones that I just mentioned, Dylan Stewart, obviously, Jonathan Paylor, Daniel Hill. Those are some of the guys that are uncommitted that South Carolina is going after right now. And I think the Gamecocks feeling pretty good about their chances. But what can you tell us about this weekend in regards to the list I just said? Are there any others that I may have missed? And how would you quantify, JC, the importance of this weekend in regards to shaping the 2024 signing class?
Oh, I think it's very important just because, the first two major weekends, and last weekend there was one guy who, believe it or not, I think Carolina may just mess around and land in Liam Andrews. There was one guy. So the first two weekends where there's multiple visits, I call it a grab bag weekend because there are a lot of guys that came in that, were frankly leaning to other places, but they're big time guys, and Carolina's kind of their top three. Or there's some guys that maybe came in and they weren't what Carolina thought. And it was the type of weekend where you just never really got the sense of anybody in these classes are make or break, and I think they'll end up getting several, out of those first two weekends when all is said and done. This class feature, or this group features all the commits, but that are the big time, highly rated commits. But you also have guys Carolina's felt extremely good about for a long time. Dylan Stewart's an example of that. Jonathan Paylor is an example of that. Daniel Hill's an example of that. Those three guys are kind of guys that anybody who's doing a mock class right now, they're going to put them in the mock class. And so the stakes are a little higher in the sense that you miss on one or two of these guys, and all of a sudden you're like, oof, that hopes you had for a top 10 class sort of take a little bit of a beating there. And so you never want to lose guys you lead for, especially for any length of time. And I think all three of those guys sort of fall into that category. If with Stewart specifically, I've always said it's going to be an all-out war. So I don't know that I would say the Gamecocks are as strong of a leader for him as maybe Hill and Paler, which, either one of those guys goes someplace else. That's going to not be a good day for the Gamecocks. But I think that with Stewart, maybe not so much, but I do like the Gamecocks position with all three. And, those are going to be, some of the crown jewels of this class, if indeed they come. And you start thinking about it, and it's like, well, you get those guys kind of at the top, and they're in it for a lot of other highly rated guys. If you want to sign a top 10 class, those three are almost musts.
JC, are there any surprise visitors that you know of that may be coming? We had a question from our guy Austin Hicks saying rumors of another big-time recruit coming in. Is there one that's like unexpected, or have you heard anything of anybody that's – I don't know. Again, this could just be social media rumor. It is the middle of the summer. So I just wasn't sure. Yeah. Yeah,
Chris, it wouldn't surprise me at all. We usually don't come across that intel it's later in the week, frankly, right, than when I normally talk to you now that it's on Tuesday. But, I'll say this, the scheduled list for the first 2 weeks where there are multiple players on, and even with Liam Andrews last week, were different than what the guys that actually visited. So there are always some last minute additions, it seems. Maybe not this time. Who knows? I'll probably stick my foot in my mouth this time. And, but right now there's nothing I'm aware of on the horizon. But, look, man, it could be that, they not only have one guy shows up that's a big time guy, but two or three. Why not? It's your best weekend. You've got two, what I consider to be 5-star offensive tackles committed on campus. You got a stud linebacker, Wendell Gregory, making his visit. You got Mazio Bennett, who's got the personality to help you recruit, coming in. You got Kelvin Hunter, Braden Lee, Dante Reno, who's Mr. Recruiter, and Blake Franks. All those guys are solid Gamecocks. They're actively recruiting for Carolina. Other kids have relationships with them. So, hey, why not bring in your big time guys? And sometimes guys get caught up or they weren't aware of what the school has to offer, and you end up getting them. So I think it makes all the sense in the world. And if I had a name, I'd share it, but I just don't have any specific names right now.
Speaking on the 24 class, JC, I'm curious because, again, you look at the guys you already have committed. You mentioned Dante Reno, obviously the quarterback position, and, Bennett at the wide receiver position. Would you say, though, Dylan Stewart, I feel like every class has sort of that cornerstone piece, or that exclamation mark, if you will. Like last year would have been a solid class no matter what, but getting Nicholas Harbor put them over the edge. It feels like every year there's like that one player that is the exclamation mark, the signature player that you get. Would you say that would be, are they targeting that Dylan Stewart would be that guy for this year's class? Or is it Reno because he's a quarterback? Or is it Bennett because you need a wide receiver? Or is it even like an offensive lineman like a Josiah Thompson? Because obviously that's a position of value. I'm not trying to put more value on one player than another, but I think you understand what I'm saying, that it feels like in these classes you have sort of that signature guy, if you will. Mm-hmm. Would you say it's Stewart or somebody else?
I think Chris, if you're talking about the guys, you walk into this cycle where they need to get these guys, and it's kind of a tie between Pringle and Thompson. This state doesn't put out elite offensive tackles every single year. And they've had two, and the Gamecocks got them both. I kind of felt like when I first found out about these guys, I was like, Clemson usually gets guys out of Woodland, and the Gamecocks are good at Dillon. So, they'll probably split them or whatever. Well, now they've swept them and gotten Blake Franks. So I think those were the two that you look at the top that you go, hey, they must have kind of guys. And I'd love to go see in person the guys that are ranked 1 and 2 per 24/7 Sports Composite at tackle, because I could almost bet you $10 to a donut I'd come back and say Thompson and Pringle are better. So the South Carolina staff thinks that they have the top 2 tackles in the country. Not only that, they think these guys are, probably, see Brandon Baker from Modern Day and, Gary Lambert from Massachusetts. It's going to Notre Dame. I'd take my chances with Pringle and Thompson, but I think those are the guys you had to get. So those are kind of the crown jewels. Now, if you add Stewart, that's the one everybody's going to be talking about, because it's out of state and it's also a position need and all that. But I think sounds strange to say that the Gamecocks already have like the must-have top guys. Like there was pressure to get Jadeveon Clowney and Marcus Lattimore and those guys, and I think that with Pringle and Thompson, there potentially would have been that kind of pressure too. The kind of in-state elite guy that, if you lose too many of them, that's it's not going to be good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you always want to lock down those in-state guys. JC, Josiah Thompson hailing from Dillon, South Carolina. Cam Pringle hailing from Dorchester, South Carolina. Last thing, JC, before I get you out of here, we had a fun conversation today on the show, and when I speak on pressure, I'm not speaking in regards to they're on the hot seat, job on the line, but just, need to have a good season. We were talking about early in the show today, the position coaches on the Gamecocks football staff that most need to have a good season. They need their unit to excel, to maybe even exceed expectations, if you will. Is there one that stands out to you of this Gamecocks position coach needs his unit to shine, to, I guess, give confidence that it's the right fit there? I mean, because everybody in the staff's recruiting well, but, I feel like there's some more obvious answers than other here when it comes to position coaches that need to see their units start to produce at a higher level.
Yeah, people are going to throw Montario out there, but I think with his situation, he needs to produce on the recruiting trail a little more. And I tell you this, if this were a month ago, I'd have told you straight up Jimmy Lindsey. There was no question in my mind. So I'm going to have to go with Clayton White just because I think it's important for South Carolina's defense as a whole to take a step forward this year. We all love the defense they've played, and they're really good at forcing turnovers, and that erases a lot of deficiencies on your defense, and they get defensive scores. And man, it's sometimes really fun to watch, but it's also, when you're getting gashed in the run game over and over, that's not a lot of fun either. And I think the whole defense needs to take a step forward this year. And when I say linebacker, I can't imagine them taking that step that they need to take without good, solid linebacker play. So if I had to pick one, I'm going to go with Clayton White.
And I think that's a great answer, honestly, JC. And it's, we'll talk more about this later in the summer when we start getting in the nitty gritty of offense, defense, special teams, the entire preview type of stuff. But it is interesting because I don't want to say Clayton White. He's done great work for sure. I mean, I don't want to say he's gotten a pass by any stretch, but it's almost, I think, it's almost like the defense was so bad when they took over that it was like it was only up. You know what I mean? So now I think as you get into year 3, let's say year 4, now you start to kind of take a step back and you reevaluate and you do some self-evaluation. You're like, okay, where are we really as a defense? Because again, to your point, like there's, you need to, I agree with you. You just need to see that defense take the next step. So I think you hit the nail on the head, honestly. And it's a conversation. Like, it's funny. It's like we've spent so much time the first 2 years talking about the OC that we haven't really, it's like, well, at least our DC is better than our OC type of thing. You know what I mean? So,
and like I said, turnovers change everything. I mean, my goodness, you think about the Gator Bowl last year, 2 defensive scores, 2 pick sixes, and a defensive tackle intercepted the pass. So, I mean, it's, it is but as we know, Chris, you don't always get the turnovers. I mean, look at Will Muschamp's defense in 2017 and then 18, they stopped coming.
Yeah.
And that defense was certainly decimated by injuries, but even when it was healthy, same scheme, a lot of the same guys, ball not bouncing their way. And that's when your personnel deficiencies and your scheme deficiencies can really catch up with you when you're not catching any breaks. So, we'll see what happens, but I do think that it's time to take a next step defensively if you're Clayton White. And I think adding Travian Roberts is going to help with that. I think some of the younger players on defense are going to step up and help with that as well.
JC, I just laugh because when I think of the 2018 season, I think of week 1 against Coastal Carolina. Dylan Wanham goes down with an ankle, and Will Muschamp said, he's got an ankle. We think he'll be fine this weekend against Georgia. And he wasn't fine until the next 9 weeks, and then he finally came back. It was that kind of defined that era. You know what I mean? Like, he's got an ankle, he's got a shoulder, he's got a foot, et cetera, et cetera.
He's got an ear.
right.
Anyway, eyebrow.
Good times, yeah. JC. Good times. JC Sherbert of the Big Spur inside the Gamecocks. JC, looking forward to jumping on with you guys on Friday this week. And
Friday, because we had somebody, I don't remember who. It was somebody that couldn't do it any other time, so we had to get it on. But
that's all good.
We love having you Friday, Thursday, Monday, whenever, man. It's always awesome when you come on. So
JC, I'm looking forward to it again, my friend. Thank you so much. Appreciate you, and I know you guys will be busy this weekend with all the recruiting stuff, and hopefully we get a lot of good news this weekend. So fingers crossed. Yes, anyways, thanks, JC. Appreciate you, man. Have a good one.
See you.
Great stuff from JC Sherbert. As always, love that. Guys, we're going to jump into a quick break. On the other side, we'll begin our Q&A Power Hour. I want to hear from you, your questions, your comments, your calls, and more on the other side of this break. You're tuned in to the Daily Crow. Attention all Gamecock seafood lovers. Are you tired of searching for the freshest seafood in town? Look no further than the Carolina Fish Market, your go-to destination for the finest and most flavorful seafood in the Carolinas and beyond. Introducing the new Carolina Seafood Subscription Box, a culinary delight delivered right to your doorstep. Each month, you'll receive a carefully curated selection of fresh local seafood sourced directly from the waters of the Carolinas and beyond. From succulent shrimp to mouth-watering grouper to flounder or tuna and everything in between, their subscription box brings the ocean's bounty straight to your Gamecock kitchen. What sets the Carolina Fish Market apart is their commitment to quality and sustainability. They work closely with local fishermen and women who use responsible fishing practices, ensuring that every bite you take supports both your taste buds and our precious marine ecosystems. They've even won Best Seafood 5 out of the last 8 years. But that's not all. They're offering free shipping to all TSUS listeners on every Carolina Seafood subscription box, making it even easier for you to indulge in the flavors of the coast. Experience the convenience and joy of having fresh seafood delivered right to your door without any of the hassle. Don't miss on this incredible opportunity to elevate your culinary adventures with the Carolina Fish Market's Carolina Seafood Subscription Box. Join the seafood enthusiasts across the nation who are savoring the taste of the Carolinas, one delectable bite at a time, and just in time for Father's Day. Visit their website today at carolinafishmarket.com. That's carolinafishmarket.com, and embark on a seafood journey like no other. Freshness, flavor, and convenience await you. Order your Carolina Seafood subscription box now and use the promo code SPURSUP, that's SPURSUP, for $10 off your first purchase. Again, that's promo code SPURSUP, SPURSUP, for $10 off your first purchase. The Carolina Fish Market, where taste meets the ocean.
Marshall Dougie, ho.
All right, guys, we're back here on this Tuesday, June the 20th, 2023, and the Q&A Power Hour is officially underway. I want to hear from you, 843-790-3377. That's 843-790-3377 here on this Tuesday. Again, appreciate y'all. Really interesting comments from JC Sherbert at the end of that conversation when he said that Clayton White is the assistant that needs to most have a good year in the 2023 season. And I don't think he's wrong. I do not think he's wrong. I absolutely think Clayton White needs to have a big season, and that defense needs to take a step forward. Let's jump to the phone lines here.
Call from
Robbie Davis, Zaxby's Hall of Famer.
Robbie, what's going on, my friend? How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. That is me in the live chat.
Okay. Robbie, I just wanted to confirm, my guy, because we've had a good number of people playing tricks and pretending to be people they're not. So I just wanted to confirm that it was you, because
that is
the last thing I'd ever want is somebody impersonating the great Robbie Davis.
Me?
Yes.
Yeah, don't do that. There's only one Zaxby's Hall of Famer, and you're talking to him right now.
That's a fact.
So that is me, in case anybody's wondering. That is me. So, but I wanted to say that I agree with your two lists today. I absolutely agree with them 100%. Like I said in the live chat, I loved watching Eric Norwood play. He's one of my favorite players ever to watch. Okay, because it felt like, and like it's not just Eric Norwood. It was Sky Moore, Eric Norwood, the Brinkley brothers, and I feel like every time Sky Moore was on the field, okay, he was around the football. He might not have made the tackle, but he was around the football. And that is the kind of linebackers that we need this year and moving forward. Because like I said yesterday, it's sad whenever your corners and safeties are your leading tacklers, and we need to find some daggum, as you put it earlier, some headhunters at linebacker and some road stuffers on the defensive line, and not let the running backs make us look like mincemeat anymore. So
road stuffers. I like that. I like that. I'm going to start using that. Road stuffers.
Yeah, because the car can't go nowhere if the road is stuffed, okay? If the road's blocked, it can't go nowhere.
Road stuffers. I like it. I like it.
But and I'm really excited. I'm really hoping that this coming season, Lucas, I'm on the phone. My nephew's up here in the bedroom with me. I'm really hoping that we need to find, like I said in the live chat, we got to find a running back ASAP. Okay, we got to find one that is durable and can get through and can get yardage whenever we need it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hoping that happens, just like everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
But that's all I got. Have a great rest of your day, and go Gamecocks.
Robbie, you're the man. I appreciate it.
You too, buddy.
Yeah, man.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Great stuff from Robbie Davis, and the under Austin Gregory hits today. Robbie Davis just 3 minutes and 10 seconds here on this Tuesday. How about that? Anyways, guys, let's get into your comments on the chat line. Austin Gregory checking in from Augusta, Georgia today. Love that. He also says, we need a TSUS golf tour so the tour can make its way back to Augusta. I love that idea. John Everett says Eli Jones has not transferred. Yeah, that is a fact, John Everett. We have not seen it. Nothing has come about from some of the Eli Jones rumors, if you will. So nothing has come about. Justin Langford, what's up? He says, what do we think of the Matt Williams pitching coach hire? Do we think it'll be good? Or he says, I think it'll be good. I think it'll be a good hire too. I mean, I think at minimum, the pitching will stay where it was at this past season, which I mean, if it does that, guys, who's going to have complaints? The Gamecocks finished second in ERA in the SEC. So I think the pitching's in good hands. Matt Williams. I think it's a hiring that was similar to the Monty Lee one in the sense of like he's got ties to the state of South Carolina, which is huge for recruiting and just player development and building relationships and things of that nature. So I think a great pickup to get Matt Williams. I think it's a really, really good pickup for sure. So Austin Gregory, this weekend determines if we finish top 15 in recruiting or not. I mean, it's a big weekend. Yeah. I mean, like JC was talking about, you need to get Paylor, you need to get Hill, Dylan Stewart on campus. It's a very, very big weekend. Ethan, which players is Beamer going to take to SEC Media Days? Ethan, we will actually have some content on that very soon. I'll give my thoughts on that. I've been waiting just as we get closer to Media Days, Ethan. If I had to guess, I mean, you would think he'd probably take veteran players. Did not take Spencer Rattler last year, you might recall. Will this be the year? Will he take Rattler this season? Going to be interesting. Austin Gregory says, we will be losing a lot of receivers next year. Guys like Joyner, Brown, and Leggett. Yeah. The receiver room. I mean, a guy like Mazeo Bennett's going to be counted on immediately, for sure. Austin says, Lonnie Teasley's job is pretty secure on the recruiting front. A lot more about the Jimmys and Joes and the X's and O's. Got to give Teasley at least a couple years, the guys who have coming in. I agree. I mean, I agree he's secure as well. I just think there's pressure on everybody to get the run game going. It's absolutely. Austin also says, I want to be concerned about running back, but it's incredibly hard for me to doubt DK's ability. Robbie Davis, we really need to find a running back that can help ASAP. I mean, I think, honestly, guys, I think we're going with what we have on the roster. I don't see South Carolina going to the portal or anything like that. I think they're going to go with what they have on the roster. I think that's the way they're moving now. So, let's see. Jacob E. says, Hardesty has definitely swung and missed on the recruiting trail, but he's also had to deal with the O-line being terrible to this point. If the O-line improves, the running backs will follow. I mean, that's a very, very good point, Jacob. It's a very good point, but I'd still say Hardesty's the position coach I think most look at and say, this guy needs to get it going. Madison Duncan, what's going on? Appreciate you. Let's see. Keep going down the list here. Michael said, when does Nick Harbor arrive on campus? Michael, he's already on campus. He got on campus, 2 weeks ago? A week ago, something like that? He is on campus, though. Braddock843 says, the great Colin Cowherd once said, in this business, they love you or hate you. If it's in between, you ain't doing it right. That's a very good point. I mean, Braddock, that's a very, very good point, honestly. The ones who get it, and the ones who don't, sadly don't. Bruin Nation said, Busey will commit this weekend on the spot. We shall see. I would imagine over the next week or so, there's going to be some welcome homes rolling through. So, let's see. My guy DGD, what's going on, man? What's up, DGD? What's up? Madison says, he better take Rattler to media days. And Cody Gaskin says, and Juice Wells. I will tell you this. I don't think there would be, I think Juice Wells would 100% be guaranteed. He would be a quote machine, I think, because Juice Wells has not held back at any point, right? I mean, last year, you think about what he said the week of the Georgia State game. He said, we just going to go out there and kill him. You know what I mean? Like he is a guy that does not hold back. So if you want good quotes, good content, I think Juice Wells is definitely a guy to take. But, I mean, you think about the top candidates to take. He wants to take veterans, right? Seniors, if you will. So, Juice Wells is a guy. I mean, I could see Spencer Rattler going. DeCamerion Joyner went last year. Does he go again? I don't know. I could see who? Maybe a Mokaba going. What about a Kai Kroger? Kai Kroger could go. I think Kai Kroger would make a lot of sense. So we'll talk about that more in depth in a couple of weeks. We'll talk about it more in depth coming up soon. So let's see. Austin Hicks, are all the 2023 recruits on campus? I'm not exactly sure if they all are there, Austin, but I know Nick Harbor is. And if they're not, they'll be coming in the next couple of weeks, I'd imagine, next month or so for summer workouts. Austin, I think it depends. I'm not 110% sure if they're all moved in. I have no idea, to be honest with you. John Edward, do you prefer the way Muschamp let us know we got to recruit or Beamer's way? Dude, I prefer Beamer's way over everything Muschamp's way. I'll leave it at that. Again, road stuffers. That was Robbie Davis's way of saying stopping the run. Road stuffers. We need some road stuffers at the linebacker position. I love that. I'm going to steal that and use that, Robbie. I'm going to use that, if you don't mind. Road stuffers. Credit to Robbie Davis. How about it? Anyways, guys, predictions are rolling out there from different sources, different people. Friend of the show, Barrett Salee, has locked in the Gamecocks at 8-4. He's got wins over North Carolina, Furman, Mississippi State, Florida, at Texas A&M, Jacksonville State, Vanderbilt, and Kentucky. Losses at Georgia, at Tennessee, at Missouri, and Clemson at home. He has this to say about the Gamecocks. Quarterback Spencer Rattler should benefit from the addition of new offense coordinator Dowell Loggins. He'll look to take advantage of the connection Rattler developed with Antoine Wells Jr. late last season. And Arkansas tight end transfer Trey Knox should become a star in the offense. However, the defense is relatively unproven. That'll put a lot of pressure on Rattler. Simply put, the Gamecocks will take a small step forward in Shane Beamer's third season in Columbia, South Carolina. As a result, they'll cruise to the over under 6 wins for South Carolina. So Barrett Salee with an 8-4 record projection. Our friend Brad Crawford also dropped his record projections. Okay. He's got South Carolina at 7-5, 4-4 in SEC play. Wins over so this is how he has it going out. North Carolina, a win against Furman, loss to Georgia, win against Mississippi State, loss at Tennessee, beating Florida, loss at Mizzou, loss at A&M, Jacksonville State a win, Vandy a win, Kentucky a win, and Clemson a loss. Brad Crawford has this to say about the Gamecocks. After potential program-changing wins in November against Tennessee and Clemson, South Carolina's opportunity to stay inside the top 25 happens much earlier this season. The opener against UNC is a toss-up, and the SEC opener at Georgia in Week 3 brings heavy interest. Then there's the trip to Neyland Stadium to close the month. Those 5 weeks are brutal, and this is one of the nation's most challenging slate. Also, will the Gamecocks break their hex against Missouri? They've lost 4 in a row against the Tigers. So, Brad Crawford locked in, 7-5, 4-4 in SEC play. Hunter Kelly says, Tennessee fan asked why our 2023 committed guys come on campus so early. They just get there when they get there, man. They get there when they get there. Brian Dean, yes, media days are in July. I think Shane Beamer's set to speak July, is it 19th? I think it's the 19th. It's like the 17th or the 20th is when media days takes place. Austin Hicks says, did you find it interesting, the SEC podcast, that we possibly have the best secondary in the SEC? Yes, I do find that interesting. Austin, I'll tell you this too. I listened to it yesterday. I did not hear them say that. So maybe I missed it. But, I mean, I'll be honest. I would not label South Carolina secondary the best in the SEC. I think that's, I think depth's a concern at corner. I mean, I like Imawari and DQ Smith a lot at safety, but guys, would you say the second? I'll tell you this. The secondary compared to last year. I mean, Cam Smith, Darius Rush. You know what's crazy to think, and this feels like forever? South Carolina started the season last year. Their 2 starting safeties were Devontae Reed and R.J. Roderick. Think about that. Think how crazy that is. R.J. Roderick was a starting safety last year, right? So Nick Imawari, DQ Smith in the back end, Marcellus Dial, and O'Donnell Fortune at the other corner. I am not going to sit here and tell you that South Carolina upgraded at the cornerback position. I think there is a lot to prove for both those guys, especially O'Donnell Fortune. You know what? I got to be honest, man. The play I can't get out of my brain when I think about O'Donnell Fortune is him getting mossed by Brock Bowers. I cannot get it out of my head. David Spalding at the nickelback position feels like he's been here for freaking ever. But no, simply to answer your question, Austin, I would not say South Carolina has the best secondary in the SEC. No, I would not. Brian Dean's got 9-3. Hunter Kelly says 12-0. Hunter Kelly says we'll be number. Like, Hunter, I can't tell if you're full of shit, kinda, or all the way. You know what I mean? Like, are you pulling my leg? Are you serious? Chase Floyd just simply gives the eyeball emojis. Hunter probably has you blocked, Chase Floyd. So, yeah, Austin Gregory, that is the other play, I will say, the 101-yard interception return against Notre Dame. He did have that play as well. But I tell you this, it leads me to this point, guys. Here's what I'm trying to say. Over the last couple of weeks, as the offseason progresses and we get closer to the 2023 season, I continue to look, we have these preseason magazines and all the preseason projections. And like I said, everybody's starting to lock in their predictions and stuff like that. I'm looking at this team, the returning production, the returning starters. And I'm just wondering to myself, and the question that has crept into my mind, are we better than last year? Like, if you went position by position, is this a better football team than last year? And it's why I've said over and over again, guys, that I feel like we are very similar to last year. We're probably a little bit better offensively. I think we're a little bit worse defensively. Beamer ball will be Beamer ball, and what do you get? When you look at returning experience on the line of scrimmages, when you look at who you lost, guys, I didn't realize this. I was listening to a show the other day. I didn't realize this. Do you realize that the Gamecocks lost 6 of 8 up front on the defensive side? If you go off a snap count, 6 of 8 they lost on the defensive front of their top snap count guys. It's just like you don't even realize what they lost last year. And so there are going to be a lot of youngsters and a lot of new pieces that have to step up and fill in quickly. Guys, I'll be totally honest with you. We haven't gotten there yet. We haven't gotten all the preview stuff yet, but I'm going to tell you right now, I'm scared shitless about what this offensive line is going to be. I'm scared shitless. I really am. I really am, man. Because when you start to look at the depth chart and you look at who Carolina's got and you look at the Jalen Nichols is out for the year and you start looking at some of these names that are going to be playing that either haven't played a whole lot or when they have played, they weren't very good. Guys, Carolina had Douglas, Wanham, and Gwynn last year. They had 100. They had damn near double the starts coming back last year. They still weren't very good. So you lose those 3. So you're telling me you're going to lose those 3 guys, lose Jalen Nichols, and you're going to get better on the offensive line? How? How is it going to happen? Unfortunately, I feel like right now Carolina is in like a gap year when it comes to the line of scrimmage, offensively specifically. Like, you've got these fantastic players that you just signed in the 2023 class. You got fantastic players coming in the 24 class. But the problem is, guys, they're either not here or they're not ready to play. So you got to kind of work with the ones you got this year. Guys like Josiah Thompson, Cam Pringle, Big Tree Babalade, they ain't playing this year, man. Marquis Anderson might play, and that's out of necessity more than, you hate to thrust a freshman out there, but you don't really have a choice. But you're going to be leaning on guys like Ja'Kai Moore, Nick Gargiulo, Vershawn Lee, Trey Jones, Tyshawn Wanamaker. I'm not saying they can't be good, but It's a huge question mark. Let's jump to the phone lines here.
Call from
Will from Dirty Myrtle.
Will, what's going on, my friend? How are you?
Good, man. How about you?
I'm doing fantastic, man. I appreciate you asking. What's up?
So I agree with you about how worried I am about the offensive line. It's definitely a concern. The only thing I will say is that sometimes losing people, even though, I mean, I think Glenn was a stud and Douglas was good, we didn't do that great the last couple of years, even with those guys. So maybe it won't be as terrible of a transition as we think, just because, I mean, we weren't really good other than the 2020 Kevin Harris breakout year. I mean, 21 wasn't good, 22 wasn't good. It got better towards the end of 22, but we couldn't run the ball. We didn't push people off the line of scrimmage. So, you know, maybe it won't be as rough of a transition, even though we are losing a lot of starts overall. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's almost addition by subtraction sometimes. I mean, I don't disagree with you. I mean, the guys that you had up there, they weren't producing. So, you know, experience can be very overvalued in college football because, it doesn't matter if you got 300 starts coming back. I mean, if those guys have played dog shit football, then who cares? You know what I mean? Like, I'd rather play the 5-star hotshot freshman that's got an unlimited potential and his ceiling is through the roof than the senior that, ain't worth a damn. You know what I mean? So I agree with you that that changing of the guard could be a positive. It's just, I guess right now in the summer, fair or unfair, all we have to go off of is returning experience. And I'm not surprised necessarily, but it's just a huge question mark. I don't think that's too bold of a statement. I think everybody would agree offensive line is a massive question mark for this team.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that and running back are the two biggest question marks offensively by far that we have coming back, which is scary because the SEC, those are the two most important things almost, other than quarterback. Is can you run the ball? Can you block up front? So we got a lot to figure out these next month or two. Hopefully some of these new guys can contribute. What is the big kid we got in the transfer portal from the small school? What's his name?
Mario Anderson.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, maybe he can do something. I mean, I don't know. He hasn't played at this level before, obviously, but hopefully, Dowell Loggins can also help maybe a little bit with the scheme and some of the stuff he's doing. And our offensive line coach, like you said last year, no fault of his own, but he had his own issues health-wise and couldn't really contribute. And then the other guy stepped in and seemed like that might have helped a little bit. So maybe that'll give us a boost going forward. But, yeah, for sure it's going to be a little bit of a figuring out thing. And then it sucks because the first 5 games aren't really games that you want to figure stuff out in.
No. Well, that's what, Will, we could just talk for days, my friend. But that's – and I think that's what concerns a lot of us is that you have these question marks and you very well could be one-dimensional early in the season while you figure it out. And, buddy, Georgia ain't a team you want to be one-dimensional against. They're just not, bro. Tennessee ain't a team you want to be one-dimensional against. Even Mississippi State. Even North Carolina week 1. So, it's big-time question marks in the rushing attack. Big-time question marks, man. And I like the Kerryon Joyner. He's a great Gamecock. He's a legend. I like Mario Anderson because he played at Newberry. I like Juju McDowell because what he's done. I think Dontavius Braswell was a nice pickup as a recruit. Man, running back is a huge question mark. Huge. So.
Yeah. And one more quick thing. If you look back to the 2020 year when we did, even though it was a abysmal year, we had Kevin Harris broke out. If you can remember coming into that year, everybody was talking about Marshawn Lloyd, freshman, how good he was going to be, and then he gets hurt, and everybody thought we were screwed, including myself. I was like, how are we going to run the ball? And then Kevin Harris has one of the best rushing years in Carolina history. So you just never know. Maybe Mario Anderson's that guy. Maybe Braswell's that guy. Maybe there's a guy on the roster we don't know that's going to be that dude. So let's just hope that's the case. And I'll hang up and listen to you, brother.
Will, very well said, my friend. I appreciate you taking the time to call in. And I think Will makes a lot of great points, and he's right because we mentioned this last summer too, right? That there are three ways to view things. There's three ways. There's the garnet glasses view. There's the chicken curse view. And then there's the realistic view, right? Because some things are going to exceed expectations. Believe it or not, some things are going to work out even better than you could expect. Some things you have to accept are going to fall short of expectations. Some things are going to do less than we expect. And then some things are going to fall right in the middle, and they're going to meet expectations and do basically what we were expecting. That's the beauty of college football. That's the beauty of the offseason, trying to project and predict what the heck is going to happen. That's the beauty of this whole thing. Let's jump to the phone lines here.
Call from
Rocky Top.
Yo, what up?
Hey, I just wanted to say, y'all are lucky Joe, what's it called? Hendon Hooker got hurt last year. We would have whooped that ass. Joe Milton's going to come in next year and slice y'all up. Y'all got so lucky, and I cannot wait to play them little Gamecocks next year. Tennessee's going to whoop that ass just like we usually do. And it's a bummer we don't play y'all in 2024 because I love playing y'all. I circle that date every day. I get it. But, yeah, I just wanted to say y'all got one lucky game. You think you're good now. O-line's a question mark. We all know that. We're going to run through y'all like a daggum, I don't even know. I can't wait for that game. We're going to beat y'all like we do in basketball, baseball, you name it. Joe Milton's going to throw up 500 passing yards. We're going to dominate. You're going to see.
My only response, you do realize Hendon Hooker didn't get hurt until the game was a blowout, correct? You realize that?
We would have came back. We would have came back. I promise you we would have come back. I had faith. I had money on the game. I promise you.
I hear you.
And
Fair enough.
Y'all
hey.
are just blind. South Carolina fans to see it through a biased lens. Y'all just see it through a biased lens. I promise you we would have whooped that tail. We would have made the greatest comeback in college football history.
I love it. Hey, I'm looking forward. We are looking forward to the rematch, the showdown in Knoxville. It'll be a good one. I'm genuinely excited for it.
All right, now I'm gonna call back after we wore that ass out. So
hey, I welcome you to call back, win, lose, or draw, my friend. Win, lose, or draw.
All right, guys. You take care.
All right, man. Later. What a time. I mean, I'm genuinely laughing that he thinks that Tennessee would have come back. Come on. Dog, what? It was like a 30-point game at that point. Yeah, Hendon Hooker got hurt in the fourth quarter. Dude, that game was over. Brendan M. and our guy Dalton have got to just be – they want to jump through the computer right now or jump to the phone. I hope my guy Brendan M. just heard that call. I really do. I hope he did. That peak slapdickery. Peak slapdickery. Hold on, let's see. We're getting another call here. Let's jump to the phone lines.
from
Dalton, the ball hater.
Dalton, what's going on, man? The bat signal's been thrown out when a Tennessee fan calls in. That means Dalton is coming. What's up?
I think I had to call in after that, man. The fact that these Tennessee fans are so I don't know what to even say at this point. That they're so deluded about the state of their football program that they want to make excuses for a 63-38 loss. 63-38. That's the score that was put up. They want to blame it on, we had locker room problems. Hendon Hooker got hurt. Hendon Hooker got hurt in the fourth quarter. The game was literally over. We were all getting ready to go on the field with 10 minutes left on the freaking clock. I was literally standing right next to you. You were standing right next to me. Indeed. Yes. We were there. We were there. For every single minute.
Yes.
I don't know, man. Nothing can help these freaking Voltards is all I'm gonna say. They may well beat us in Neyland. I don't like going to Neyland Stadium. Obviously, our history there doesn't exactly. It's not exactly good, to be honest. But the fact that Tennessee fans think that their program is so far and away better than our program. I mean, I've said it before, Chris. Look at their record against Vanderbilt. They've got a 6-5 record against Vanderbilt the last 10 games. They haven't been worth a shit since 1995. Like, come on, man. This is their first good season in literally 2 decades. and they want to talk all this shit, say, oh, Joe Milton's going to win a Heisman. Like, Joe Milton can't even complete a freaking pass, 50% of the time, man. I mean, he sucks. There's a reason why they had to bench his ass and put in Hendon Hooker, and Hendon Hooker was in my opinion the only reason why they were able to do what they did last season. But they're the ultimate choke artists. Even if they beat us, they're not making it to the college football playoff. I've got Tennessee going 7-5. I think that they're going to have a very similar season to what we're going to have.
Fair enough. Dalton, I love it, man. I love it. I love the back and forth. I love yes, I love it, truly. And it's fun to talk about, relive 63-38. Maybe we should just spend a day reliving that entire game. I don't know. Anyways, good stuff, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to haunt Tennessee fans probably for, a long time to come. And I'm really glad about that.
And I'll say this, Dalton, the only thing that would haunt Tennessee fans more than that game is after they've spent the entire offseason hyping up, this is going to be the revenge game, we're going to get our revenge. If they lost that game, then you really break the spirits of the Tennessee fan base. That would be the only thing sweeter, I think.
Yeah, I mean, for any Tennessee fans out there listening to this, I'd like to just remind you guys that the one chance you guys had to actually win a national title in my entire lifetime, so about 25 years at this point, was crushed by Shane Beamer, the guy who makes stupid sunglasses videos and who you shit talk relentlessly, by a score of 63-38. This wasn't no, buzzer beater miracle, in the last play of the game. This was literally an ass whooping that was handed down to you, ending your hopes and dreams. And I'd just like to remind you of that. So we'll see you in Neyland. We'll see you in Neyland. Your shithole stadium that you like to overhype. And we'll see you there. May the best team win this upcoming season. And
Dalton, last thing, man, just remind Tennessee fans, man, we ran out of damn fireworks, man. Stock up on the fireworks.
we did. Yeah.
Stock up on the fireworks for the trip to the trip to Neyland this season.
And the funny part about that, Chris, is that the pyrotechnics guy that was loading the fireworks was apparently a Tennessee fan.
Oh.
So we scored so many touchdowns that the pyrotechnics guy, who was a fan of the team that we were literally like beating their ass in ridiculous fashion, he had to like watch that and worry about, are we going to have enough fireworks to shoot when South Carolina eventually goes down the field and scores another touchdown.
Indeed. Well, we'll get the Vol pack ready, Dalton. It's coming back to back this fall. Get the Vol pack ready.
I hope so.
I love it, man.
All
Dalton,
right, you have a good one.
I appreciate the call, man. Thank you so much. Great stuff from our friend Dalton, guys. We're going to jump into a quick break on the other side. What a show today. I want to continue to hear from you. More of your questions, comments, calls, and more. You're tuned in to the Daily Crow. Attention all Gamecock seafood lovers. Are you tired of searching for the freshest seafood in town? Look no further than the Carolina Fish Market, your go-to destination for the finest and most flavorful seafood in the Carolinas and beyond. Introducing the new Carolina Seafood Subscription Box, a culinary delight delivered right to your doorstep. Each month, you'll receive a carefully curated selection of fresh local seafood sourced directly from the waters of the Carolinas and beyond. From succulent shrimp to mouth-watering grouper to flounder or tuna and everything in between, their subscription box brings the ocean's bounty straight to your Gamecock kitchen. What sets the Carolina Fish Market apart is their commitment to quality and sustainability. They work closely with local fishermen and women who use responsible fishing practices, ensuring that every bite you take supports both your taste buds and our precious marine ecosystems. They've even won Best Seafood 5 out of the last 8 years. But that's not all. they're offering free shipping to all TSUS listeners on every Carolina Seafood subscription box, making it even easier for you to indulge in the flavors of the coast. Experience the convenience and joy of having fresh seafood delivered right to your door without any of the hassle. Don't miss on this incredible opportunity to elevate your culinary adventures with the Carolina Fish Market's Carolina Seafood subscription box. Join the seafood enthusiasts across the nation who are savoring the taste of the Carolinas, one delectable bite at a time, and just in time for Father's Day. Visit their website today at carolinafishmarket.com. That's carolinafishmarket.com, and embark on a seafood journey like no other. Freshness, flavor, and convenience await you. Order your Carolina Seafood subscription box now and use the promo code SPURSUP, that's SPURSUP, for $10 off your first purchase. Again, that's promo code SPURSUP, SPURSUP, for $10 off your first purchase. The Carolina Fish Market, where taste meets the ocean.
Marshall Dougie, ho.
All right, guys, we're back here on this Tuesday, June the 20th, 2023. And what a day it has been thus far. You know, I kind of wish we got more of that, like opposing fans calling in, if you will, calling in, talking crap. I think that'd be a good time. I really do. That the trash talk, honestly, guys, like you think about it, the banter, the trash talk, it's what makes sports fun. It is. It's what makes sports fun. So I'm all for it, man. I love it. I love hearing from the opposing fans, the opposing fan bases, if you will. It's a good time. It's a really, really good time. So anyways, guys, phone lines are still open. 843-790-3377. That's 843-790-3377. Let's see. Luke RJ said, hard to come back when we scored every possession. They needed to stop us first, which didn't happen. Luke RJ, great point. Tennessee was not stopping Spencer Rattler that night. There's no chance. No chance. Let's see. Jeff Could you imagine if we average 50 plus points per game? If dreams could come true. I really hope Loggins is the guy. Maybe not average 50, but just to bring back the offense. Yeah, Jeff, just make the Gamecocks great on offense again, right? Just make the Gamecocks great on offense again. Let's see. Austin Gregory, what position groups are you most confident in? Let's get a top 3. You know, Austin, we did this. I'm sure you saw. We did it a couple of weeks ago when I actually ranked the South Carolina position groups going into the 2023 season. And I forget exactly what my 1 through 3 was, but I can tell you right now, quarterback, wide receiver, and defensive back. I think I listed kicker, punter also, but I'll leave that one out. Quarterback, receiver, and secondary. Those would be my top 3 that I'm most confident in. I guess you could say tight end as well. I forget. I got to look. Let's see. I could go back and look and see what my top 3 were in that ranking. I do forget. The quarterback's certainly up there, and I know receivers up there. Did I group the receivers and tight ends, though? I forget. Let's see. Position unit rankings. Okay, here we go. Yeah, here we go. Okay. Ranking each South Carolina football position from best to worst into the 2023 season. I had number 1 kicker and punter, number 2 quarterback, number 3 DB, and number 4 wide receiver. I had tight end at number 5. I had tight end at number 5. So. Austin Hicks, fun question. Quick rundown of your favorite player at each position currently. Favorite players. Spencer Rattler, quarterback. Juice Wells, receiver. I mean, dude, really the starters. Trey Knox at tight end. DeCarrion Joyner at running back. I'll say Vershawn Lee on the offensive line. Nicky Mawari at safety. Marcellus Dial at corner. Tonka Hemingway, defensive front. Jordan Strawn off the edge. And then Kroger and Mitch Jeter. Let's jump back to the phone lines here.
Call from
Dale, the Shoney's Hall of Famer.
to accept, press 1.
Dale, the Shoney's Hall of Famer. What's up, Dale?
Hey, man, what? I got in here late, man. What's going on? Why is everybody hating on Smokey all of a sudden?
Man,
what? What happened?
we had some slapdickery take place, man. Tennessee fan called in talking junk, man. So you know, hey, you mess with the feathers, you get the spurs, my guy. You know how it goes.
He's probably from West Tennessee. He's probably really a Vandy fan, so don't pay him no attention, man. You know I'm the voice of the Vols, man. Don't give no other person from the Vols clan, a spot on your show, man. You need to go. You hear him start talking that night, and you kick him off. That Dale's your guy. I'm still waiting for that interview you go have with me so we can break down the game.
Yeah, we got to get Big Dick Dale on the show. Yeah, for sure. Breaking down the game, no doubt.
I got in here and I heard Dalton going off on this, and I'm like, man, what's Dalton doing, man? I've always respected him, but every time I hear Dalton, you remember that cartoon, Winnie the Pooh?
I do remember Winnie the Pooh, yes.
Tell me Dalton don't sound like he could be Eeyore. He's depressed as hell, man. Always talking with no joy. Isn't that y'all slogan? Find some joy.
Find some joy. Find some joy, indeed.
Dalton, find some joy, man. It's all going to be all right, man. Who cares if the fireworks man was a Vols fan? Who cares? Y'all won. We know that. Let the man with the fireworks find his joy. Who cares? And then John Edward in the chat, he's trying to give me a hard time saying we delusional, but I ain't going to pay him no attention, man. People like that, just eat corn dogs a long way. So you don't want to mess with people like that. So I'm just going to leave that there. But I saw that, John Edward. I thought me and you were always square, but I'm going to keep my eye on you.
I love the rivalries we have budding from the chat room. I do love that. That's
I just
really
came in late, man. I was like, what's all this hate?
It's a cool thing.
I just don't know why there's so much hate and animosity, man. And that's a big word for me. I'm still trying to figure out what exactly animosity means, but it felt like it worked.
Animosity.
man. People's talking about hookers getting hurt and stuff. I don't even know what's going on. I mean, who got hurt?
Hendon Hooker, y'all's quarterback, my man. Yeah, nothing inappropriate.
Oh, okay, man. Well, see, I ain't real best for names on the back of jerseys. Only balls I recognize is God and Peyton Manning, and the rest is all that Big T, man. Everybody else just that Tennessee ball. So I didn't know what was going on with that comment. That's why I just had to call in. I didn't know what was going on. People talking about people being hurt, people being upset. Smokey's mad. There's a fireworks guy somewhere. So I had to get in here, man. I'll let you go. I won't hold you up on your show, man. I'm the legendary ball man. Don't talk to these other haters. Especially they call in just trying to rally your feathers. So they're going to keep it 100 with you,
Indeed. Hey, I love it, though, man. The beauty's in the banter. I welcome all. We welcome all fan bases, all fans to call in. So the more the merrier, man.
It might have been, I hate to say it might have been Becca's new man. I don't know. She might have gave me one.
Oh, that might have been Becca's new man. You might be right. I didn't think about that.
I try to forget, man. I can't. I got to forget. It's over. Done. All right, Chris. I'll let you go, man. BDD out.
BDD out. Appreciate you, BDD. Have a good one. Great stuff. God, what a day on the phone lines, my friend. And I tell you again, this is like a preview of that's what I do love during the football season is, bro, the phone lines. I mean, right now, obviously, guys, we're I won't say we're fishing for things to talk about, but it's more challenging because we're in the middle of the summer. I mean, as well as I do, man, we get into the football season and those calls come in. It is a blast, man. It is a blast. I can't wait for it. Going to be a great time. Looking forward to it, man. Looking forward to it for sure. So, and looking forward to it out of the new studio as well, guys. Again, we're moving to the new studio next 2-3 weeks or so. I think actually my new chair gets in today. So very excited. Very excited. New studio is going to be awesome. So new studio is going to be great. Let's see. Madison says, Rover, Red Rover, kick the balls over and over. Austin Hicks says, this sounds like a Tennessee fan. Well, he is a Tennessee fan, so there you go. John Edwards says, Tennessee is delusional. Will Hall says that BDD's waiting for an interview and the $2. Yeah, I got to get him his $2, man. Let's see. Brennan says, I'm dying. I'm trying to work here. Rocky Top and Dalton and Dale in my ear. What a time. What a day. What a day. Jacob E. says, instead of polos, I want to see all the coaches wearing the Drop Yo Nuts t-shirt. Just one time. I know it would never happen, but still. Jacob E., I want to see Shane Beamer rocking a Beamer Ball shirt. Probably would never happen, but still, be dope. Be super dope. Luke RJ says, Chris, I just want Rattler to break the single-season passing yards record in 2023. That should be the goal. LOL, that would be incredible to watch. Well, I mean, get this, Luke RJ. So Brad Crawford, I forgot to mention, he also made like bold predictions for the SEC season or just predictions in general. He says his prediction for South Carolina, Spencer Rattler challenges South Carolina's single-season passing yards record. He said almost by default, the Gamecock star quarterback has a marvelous final season to the air since his offense is depleted in the run game. With new offensive coordinator Dowell Loggins shifting this attack to a pro-style look that's more pass than run, Rattler should eclipse 4,000 yards and get close to the program record for passing yards. Well, if he eclipses 4,000 passing yards, he broke it, right? What is the record? 36-25 or something like that? Let me see. Let's get the passing yards record here. Yeah, 35-64. 35-64. The single season passing yards record. Dylan Thompson, 2014, 3,564 yards. And Brad Crawford has him breaking that record and South Carolina going 7-5. Explain that. Riddle me that. Riddle me that. Austin Hicks, Chris, have you ever tried to bring Beamer on for an interview? Austin, yes, I have. Yeah, I've reached out to Steve Fink before, and he shut that down with the quickness. So it's one of those things, Austin, where, South Carolina picks and chooses who their people talk to. And I was told by Steve Fink a couple of years ago that, we only allow Beamer and the coaches to talk to our specific credentialed media members. And then, of course, I found out that was complete bullshit because my guy Jake Crane had Shane Beamer on his show. And I asked him, I said, are you credentialed by South Carolina in any way? Anything? He said, absolutely not. Not even remotely close. And which is fine. Listen, I get it. Steve Fink has a really bad taste in his mouth in regards to me. His first impression of the Spurs Up show was Fire Muschamp. And from there, it was all ties were cut. TSUS was put on the blacklist, which to insinuate there's not a blacklist is really, really funny. Either way, doesn't matter. But again, long story short, Austin, yes, I've tried before. And it's a shame because I've mentioned this before. Would it be great for personal gain, the business gain, the overall expansion of the business? I mean, sure, it'd be great, Austin, for all those reasons. But it would be great for the fan base and just spreading the good word of Gamecocks football. That is why I'd love to do it, really, truly. And the fact that, things are how they are. It is what it is, man. It is what it is. All that I really care about, Austin, I'm not going to be getting Shane Beamer on the show anytime soon. But all I care about is that I have a good relationship with Coach Beamer. Talk with Coach Beamer every now and then. Great relationship with others on the staff. So I have a great relationship with those within Gamecocks football in the building that matter. And I'll put it that way. So, which again is a blessing. I mean, we've come a long way since the Will Muschamp era with Will Muschamp, notably, and it was not a secret, hated my guts, which is fine. It is what it is. But yeah, I mean, listen, if you're going to be committed, to being genuine and honest and real and truthful and being committed to the art that is creating above all else, well, then you have to be willing to ruffle some feathers, no pun intended. You have to be willing to maybe even sever some relationships, like in regards to the one at the University of South Carolina. You have to be willing to do that. So I'm more than happy, Austin, where my stance is. I'm more than happy where I sit. I'm more than happy with my role, my friend. I'm more than happy with my role. So anyways, guys, we're going to jump into one final break. On the other side, we'll close the show out in style here on this Tuesday. You're tuned in to the Daily Crow. Attention all Gamecocks seafood lovers. Are you tired of searching for the freshest seafood in town? Look no further than the Carolina Fish Market, your go-to destination for the finest and most flavorful seafood in the Carolinas and beyond. Introducing the new Carolina Seafood Subscription Box, a culinary delight delivered right to your doorstep. Each month, you'll receive a carefully curated selection of fresh local seafood sourced directly from the waters of the Carolinas and beyond. From succulent shrimp to mouth-watering grouper to flounder or tuna and everything in between, their subscription box brings the ocean's bounty straight to your Gamecock kitchen. What sets the Carolina Fish Market apart is their commitment to quality and sustainability. They work closely with local fishermen and women who use responsible fishing practices, ensuring that every bite you take supports both your taste buds and our precious marine ecosystems. They've even won Best Seafood 5 out of the last 8 years. But that's not all. They're offering free shipping to all TSUS listeners on every Carolina Seafood subscription box, making it even easier for you to indulge in the flavors of the coast. Experience the convenience and joy of having fresh seafood delivered right to your door without any of the hassle. Don't miss on this incredible opportunity to elevate your culinary adventures with the Carolina Fish Market's Carolina Seafood Subscription Box. Join the seafood enthusiasts across the nation who are savoring the taste of the Carolinas, one delectable bite at a time, and just in time for Father's Day. Visit their website today at carolinafishmarket.com. That's carolinafishmarket.com, and embark on a seafood journey like no other. Freshness, flavor, and convenience await you. Order your Carolina Seafood Subscription Box now and use the promo code SPURSUP, that's SPURSUP, for $10 off your first purchase. Again, that's promo code SPURSUP, SPURSUP, for $10 off your first purchase. The Carolina Fish Market, where taste meets the ocean.
Muscle Dougie, ho.
All right, guys, we're back. Final 10 minutes or so in the Daily Crow, taking your questions, comments, calls, 843-790-3377. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Austin Hicks says, you can see the rally puppies are behind me here. They are in the studio. Austin Hicks says, I know you catch a lot of hate on the internet, but it's just because you tell it how it is and share your opinion on situations, which is why I watch. I value and respect your opinion. Keep doing you, Austin. Thank you so much, my friend. And I say this, you know, when you do something like I do, when you are on the internet doing something, I mean, just do the craziness is inevitable. It really is. It really is. Because Twitter serves a place where people can jump into their alter egos, their fake avatars, and say anything without consequence. I mean, you think about how crazy, and Austin, again, I appreciate the comment. You think about how crazy the real, like, consequences are a great thing in life, right? It's great to have consequences because that's how you learn, right? You learn more out of failure and facing consequences than you do even out of success, right? But on Twitter, there is no consequence. There's no consequences on social media. There's no consequences for saying anything, for doing anything. So that's why you see the craziness. That's why you see people. And I think what's kind of sad about social media, especially Twitter, is everything is so anybody can say anything. So literally anything is said. And so it makes it very hard to decipher what's real and what's not. So you just get to a point where you assume everything's BS. Everything's nonsense, right? And it's honestly kind of sad that that's the reality, because social media, if used, dare I say, properly, or if used in a productive way, it can be a tool. It can be beneficial. But unfortunately, you have to sift through an extreme amount of nonsense to get to that type of content, that type of information. But thankfully, man, again, Austin, I appreciate you, your love and support. And thankfully, there are, you just have to be careful what you consume. I mean, that's the bottom line. You've got to be very careful what you consume. You have to be careful with who you're following. You have to be careful with the content you're taking in, because eventually it sort of becomes part of it can at least become part of your identity. It shapes who you are. It's what you're consuming on a day in, day out basis. You have to be very careful and watch what you're consuming, right? I mean, if you're consuming nothing but hatred, negativity, and, what's that going to do to your psyche? What type of person are you going to become when that's all you're taking in? So, but social media can be a great place if you cultivate it properly, where you're consuming things that, that inspire you or entertain you in a positive way. Or and Bruin Nation, there's no chaos. There's no chaos, Bruin Nation. Unless you're Bruin Nation referring to the chaos that took place earlier with the Tennessee fan and Dalton and BDD, there was that chaos. That's fun chaos. That's chaos we enjoy. That's chaos we enjoy. Madison Duncan says, Chris, remind me again about learning how to get an SEC championship. Madison, how do you get an SEC championship? You win games. And you win games at a high level, Madison. That's the only way to do it. So I don't know if I can teach you how to do it. So Austin Hicks says, Twitter's like politics. If you have a different opinion than someone else, then people want to give you crap, but people don't understand it's okay to have different opinions, even in football. Austin, there's some people, they don't want to give you crap. They just want to, get you off the internet. You know what I mean? So I'm not a political guy in the slightest, Austin. I mean, I've never brought politics into what I do. I never will. Again, I'm not passionate enough about it to even begin to have that conversation. But it is, I will say this, Austin, if you notice, a lot of the people on social media, it doesn't matter what entity it's on, a lot of those people that are like the loudest, that are like the extremists, a lot of them, guys, if you go to their timeline, guess what's on their timeline? Politics. And so it's like, it makes sense. It's like, it makes sense that you are this way. Guys, I've learned something very beneficial. Like, what's been really cool about the TSUS journey, right? That began in January 2017. The TSUS journey and my personal growth journey have gone hand in hand, right? The TSUS journey and my personal growth journey, they have gone hand in hand. I have grown as a human being. I've had to grow as TSUS has grown. And what's so interesting is like the law of detachment and detaching yourself from people's opinions about you, good or bad, and realizing that what people say about any situation, it reflects more about them and what's going on with them than it does about you. And that is a really, really good way to navigate through social media. Because again, I could teach a master class on social media. I'm not trying to sit here and say I'm the guru, I'm the sod guru of Twitter. That's not what I'm saying. But I am someone who has experience in the space. And I'm here to tell you right now, if your goal, I don't care what it is, sports, politics, dude, even like wellness. I mean, there's like, even like I love the Daily Stoic. I think Ryan Holiday does a great job, the Daily Stoic. Even him, dude, even people, Jay Shetty, even people that are on social media, that are online, and their content is centered around wellness and health and trying to help people be the best version of themselves, or just sharing their stories, even they are catching hell from people in the replies, in the comments. And so you really have to stop and think about it. Is it more of a reflection on them? Or is it more of a reflection on the person who's commenting that this hatred and negativity is coming out of thin air? This is coming out of their existence. It's saying more, and they're trying their best to tear down this person. And that's what I'll always say, too, is so weird about a lot of the nonsense you see on social media with these other, listen, guys, I don't reply. I don't engage with any of it. And I've got a ton of accounts muted, and Twitter has become a much more fun place. I highly suggest it. Use the mute button. I'm not going to block anybody, but use the mute button. But that's why I've just never understood I don't understand how people don't realize how sad it is and how silly it makes you look when someone is saying nothing to you directly, no ill will, no anything to you. And you have the capabilities on social media to say terrible things, to do your best to tear down a person that you have never met before. And the only way you know them is through a screen on your phone. The only way you know them is through your computer, is through social media. So you don't know them. You know nothing about them other than what you see through the filter that is social media. And we see it every day. This goes so far beyond me, but dude, you see it like professional athletes. People demonize these people, dude. People demonize these people. And I mean, I'll just tell you right now, and I don't care who this hurts. You've got to be a really twisted human being to hate a person that you have never met and know nothing about. You're a twisted human being. And I genuinely pray for your peace, and I have empathy for you that you have reached a point so low in life that your only means of coping and escaping is to try to tear somebody else down. Because that's what that is. It's a sad cry for help. And when I see that, when it's directed at me, I don't get angry. I don't get upset. I don't take it personally. I feel sorry for those people. I have true, real empathy for those people. When you have that perspective shift on social media, when you see it in that view, when you change your perspective in that manner, social media will look a lot different to you. For the better. And you realize, too, how many miserable human beings there are out there. And I pray those people find their peace. I pray they find their happiness. I mean, guys, I genuinely do mean it. Because I'll tell you this, I think it's funny, the beef, the hatred, some of the stuff you guys see in the community, it's all one-sided. All I ever do is show up day after day, be consistent, make great content, pull on the Gamecocks, and kind of mind my own business in my personal life and everything else. And that's it. And so if you got beef with TSUS and you got beef with C Philly, just know it's one-sided, because I don't hate anybody out there. I really don't. I got nothing but love for anybody, even all the other Gamecock podcasters, Gamecock social media figures, whatever you want to call yourself. I got nothing but love for you. And I wish you the best. I wish you success. People have this twisted misconception that only one can win. TSU, we got to take down this person to win, this person to win. Multiple people can win, man. It ain't a one entity thing. You just got to find your niche and your angle, but everybody can win. Everybody can win if you can find a way in which you can provide value to the masses, that if you can solve a problem for the masses that either they don't know they have or they have, but you only have the solution to, then you can win. Anyways, guys, we've hit 3 o'clock. We're going to get out of here. Hey, I appreciate you all tuning in. Luke RJ says C Philly's a good dude. I knew that since hearing how he handles calls and being polite on his show back in 2021. Luke RJ, thank you, my friend. I appreciate you. BDD says, I hate most people. I love it. I love it. Bruin Nation says, you mean when the clock strikes midnight, that frog doesn't kiss that princess. You kind of lost me, Bruin Nation, on the analogy, but I think I get what you're saying. Madison says, great show, Chris. Thank you. Best part was hearing Recruit Thompson was still in the hunt. Madison, always a pleasure, man. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. We're going to get out of here. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button also on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, and Google Podcasts. You check us out on podcast version. Leave us a review, too, if you don't mind. I really appreciate it. Guys, thank you all so much. Appreciate you all tuning in. Have a great rest of your Tuesday. We will talk to you all tomorrow.